Hello. Sorry about the kind of silence there. I was using different headphones and I didn't realize, but I fixed it now. You should be able to hear all the background lo-fi music. Oh, maybe. There we go. All right. Everything's set now. Thank you, Delport. This is what I'm gonna. This wasn't the original plan of what I was gonna be working on, but this is what I am going to be working on right now because I want to finish it. Alrighty. Hello, hello. Yeah, so Mars is going to be a little later. So we're going to do it in a bit different order and stuff like that. I'm using different headphones that aren't noise canceling, so I'm hearing a lot more of like the room sounds, which you guys can't hear, so that's good because I just my house is old and it has like a radiator and I sit directly in front of the radiator, so I'm very hot right now because it's on. Um, and it hisses a lot. It makes a lot of hissing noises and various noises that have been akin to like bees and things like that. So I hear it very well right now. Um, but I don't hear. I'm actually gonna switch headphones, so I mean, it's not like you guys will not hear music for a moment, but I will keep talking and doing whatever. But yeah, some kind of weird transition thing here. Look at this. I had to charge my wireless headphones, and that's why I'm a little. I didn't even think about it. But we're all good. Yes, everybody else who exists there definitely thinks it's ghosty. There's lots of creaking, there's lots of all this other sort of stuff. Okay, let us fix the desktop audio issue by disconnecting my other things. I don't like that it can connect two headphones at once. I wish it would just kick off one of them. But there we are. Properties. Nope, nope, not that one. This one. Nope, what is... Okay. You guys should hear it. And I don't know why deciding not to hear it. I'm assuming you guys cannot hear the music now. Yeah, I don't think my house is actually haunted. Oh. Interesting, there's some noise. But it's not all the noise. Oh. Yeah, okay, there it is. Music should be back now, I think. Just took a second. Alrighty. If... Yes. I think it's good now. But... Oh, awesome. Okay, okay. So yeah, we're doing stuff in a bit different of an order. We're gonna wait until later to do the session recap because Mars is actually gonna be a little late. And I think that I can talk significantly longer about Rarity than most things. Yeah, the noise canceling cancel the music. That's exactly it. I feel better with them on. I don't know why. Like it sounds more like me with them on than when I had the other non-canceling headphones in. It's very weird. I guess I'm just used to them or something, but let us talk about Rarity. Yeah, so we're talking about Rarity today. 5e Rarity. I'm not good at Pathfinder 2e Rarity yet. There's a lot more stuff that go into Pathfinder Rarity, so it, like, on its own is more baked in to sort of how they made their magic item system. So, like, understanding that is already baked in with the rules more, unlike how in 5e it's kind of feels amorphous. There's no real rule. There's a couple real rules that are with like spell scrolls and stuff, but honestly, magic items, a lot of times it feels like it's just vibe. And it's not fully just vibe, but there's definitely some things that are a little just vibe. but we'll get into that. So, rarity in D&D is essentially less considered how rare something is in the world and more how powerful it is. So you got common, uncommon, rare, very rare, and legendary. And common things are the lowest tier magic items and magic things. And then legendary, of course, the most powerful magic items. And so technically the way that it was supposed to set up is that it is, especially with the monetary system. Well, we're not gonna go into artifacts because honestly artifacts are kind of like a whole different beast and they were like a kind of added in thing later. At least to my understanding for 5e. So I'm not gonna go into artifacts. I've never made an artifact for the cure or anything. Honestly, I would say you can go pretty ham with an artifact. We can briefly talk about like expanding items. Yeah, exactly, Scarecrow. They definitely really don't. So I ignore them. I've never played with them. I've never seen anybody play. I've never known of anybody to play with them. I just kind of ignore them. It's also like I technically have never played with legendary items, but at least they have a bit more like concrete stuff, vaguely. But yeah, so the monetary system goes with them. They do recommend certain prices for common, uncommon, rare, very rare, and legendary. Common is usually sort of in the tens. I think that's what it is. And then it sort of increases by 10 every time. So uncommon would be in the hundreds, rare would be in the thousands, very rare in the 10,000s, and legendary in the hundreds of thousands. Usually I believe that the books tell you it's like 40, 400, 4,000, 40,000, 400,000. But they can kind of fluctuate within that area. The big thing on price is that consumables, so like potions and scrolls and things that you can only use once, the price is cut in half. So if there's a consumable, let's say it's an uncommon potion, instead of it costing 400 gold, it only costs 200 gold because it's cut in half because you can only use it once. That's sort of how it works out. Now, again, there is some talk sometimes of rarity having to do with how technically prevalent the item is in your world. It's really not. It really has nothing to do with that. You would assume that like there's only one legendary item, right? But that's more of like a lore bit than necessarily anything to do with anything else. Even if there's only one, armor of gleaming, it's still common because of its abilities. It has nothing to do with how common in the world it is, because especially if you're in like a low magic world, because of whatever you're playing, or you're in high magic, right? Like all those things vary within what kind of game you're playing and everything, and they have nothing to do with that. It's actually a tier system based on power. So we'll start with sort of common, right? The lowest tier. It's usually a very small flavor effect, right? So usually it affects mostly out of combat things. Examples are like the charlatan dice, right? You can roll the dice and you can, pick the outcome for it. Like I said before, the armor of gleaming, it never gets dirty. Those are sort of the average sort of area, cloak of billowing. I think there's something about smoking, pipe of smoking or something. These are all very like incredibly minor effects that are mostly cosmetic or very out of combat. Now, one of the stronger common items is the clockwork amulet. And once a day, using it, when you make an attack roll, you can forego rolling a d20 and instead just get a 10, right? So instead of rolling at all, you just get to say, hey, I want a 10, and then you add your bonuses to it. So that's kind of on the more powerful side, where it's a little more like it is something to do with combat. It is something that can help you, it's sort of a one time a day equivalent to the similar reliable talent of a rogue, right? So it is definitely on the higher side, because common, everything within a tier has sort of different levels. Hi Anima, thanks for hanging out. It sort of has different levels, right? You have low end of that tier, right? And then you have high end of that tier. So there's always sort of in between. The big thing, at least we try to do at the curio, right, for all our items is we'd want to be sort of in that middle ground, right? You don't want to toe the line so much. That's when people get up in arms, I guess you could say, is when you sort of toe the line. So if you have an item that is like sort of on the cusp of rare, cusp of very rare, right? It's high end of rare, low end of very rare. That's sort of when people start telling you, oh, it's more powerful, it's less powerful, and everything like that. And, well, that's engagement and everything. That's sort of different than if you're nestled solidly within one of the tiers, you're going to get less sort of pushback on one of your things. And then a little more on common is when you have like spell scrolls, right? And the reason I specifically talk about this is because this is actually listed in like I think it's the Dungeon Master's Guide, is that first level spell scrolls are common and they have save DCs of 11 or 12. So that's very important. Save DCs are usually, and you can break the mold. That's kind of the point of all this, right? You learn the rules to break them. But save DCs are usually 11 or 12 for common items, because in D&D, the saves, the DCs for all the abilities of those items are based on the item. They're not based on your character. And so this kind of forces you to want to get, usually higher level, higher tier items as you increase in level, because at a certain point, DC 11, 12 ain't gonna do anything for a monster that has plus 11 to all their freaking stats, right? So that's sort of how they do that instead of allowing it to grow with you. That's just sort of how the game is. We at the Curia have toured around with items that are like that are based on your stats, and they're hit or miss with people. Sometimes they like them, sometimes they come and be like, why isn't it just a specific, DC or something like that, and that's sort of the reason. But, so, an interesting thing, we'll get to that. So that's with spell scrolls, right? And scrolls are consumable, so that's something to think about. Now, uncommon items, right? These include almost all your +1 items, right? +1 magic weapons, so that's a +1 to attack and damage rolls. You have +1 shields. You have +1 items that give you +1 to your spell attack and save DCs. Those are all sort of the big things there. So that's when we hit uncommon. So a magic weapon with a +1 is uncommon on its own. It doesn't get any other sort of abilities. You could probably get away with giving it what you would call like a ribbon ability, sort of like what the common items are, right? So you could probably have a magic sword, a +1 magic sword of gleaming, let's say, right? So that +1 magic sword always stays, never gets dirty. That would still be uncommon, because what is that really doing besides aesthetics, right? Same with like the cloak. If your like shield, is gleaming or something like that, like a +1 shield of gleaming isn't really going to move it out of uncommon because it's not really doing anything power-wise. So uncommon items, usually they're sort of in that like a useful item, but they're kind of niche, right? So a big one is like water breathing can be kind of niche, for a little period of time. If you can breathe water, those sort of things. And the other thing they do is having like once per day uses charges like that. You also got some sort of, other sort of things like wands and staves in there, but they usually use first level spells. A good example is the Wand of Magic Missile. It does have a lot of charges. It's had 7 charges, but it is a first level spell. Right, so that's sort of going in there. And then as well in that uncommon category is the 2nd and 3rd level spell scrolls, which have DCs of 13 or 14. Right, so we've moved up the DCs to 13 and 14, and this is, usually saves for anything, for any item, any scroll, but then it's spell scrolls that are 2nd and 3rd level. Always feel free to interrupt me with a question if you have one at any time. But we'll move along to rare. Rare is where you get your +2s. So +2 magic weapons, +2 shields, +2 items to your spell and spell attack rolls and spell save DCs. But you also get +1 magic armor. So that is something to keep in mind. Is that something that is armor that's giving you your AC stat, right? That's affecting your AC stat is higher tiered on average than your other magic items, right? So a +1 magic weapon is uncommon, where a +1 magic armor is rare. Now you might say, oh, but a shield is kind of armor. So the thing about shields is that you have to use a hand, right? You have to have a hand being used. So this allows you to not be able to use two-handed weapons and items while benefiting from your shield. So that's sort of why it's down in that category with the magic weapons and the, the casting augmented magic items. It's because of that. Magic armor, it doesn't take any hands to use. This is where Cinder, he likes to say this is where you can get weird, right? So this is where you're actually getting a lot of the cool items, a lot of the cool, effects and everything like that. Yes, exactly. So legendary is +3 to armor. And that's sort of that reason, is because it is higher. So very rare would have +3 to the magic weapons. Legendary would be the +3 to armor. But yeah, so at rare you can kind of get weird. That's why you probably see a lot of homebrew content being in that rare category, because this is where you can really play around a lot, right? You really don't have to worry as much starting at this tier. Now there is, again, some sort of contention in the rare, and this specifically goes around the item Flame Tongue. Okay, it's a sword. Now it's a very powerful sword, and because of this, if you're considering it being rare, it is the top tier cap of rare. Okay, so when you're comparing your own content, your own homebrew content to items, don't use Flame Tongue as an example, okay? Because Flame Tongue, yes, exactly, Scarecrow. Flame Tongue is technically only rare. Now, a lot of people do count it as very rare because it really, really, really should be, but that's sort of one of those things that shows that this system wasn't taken full care to exactly what they were doing, outside of those like +1s, +2s, and everything like that. So yeah, exactly. It really, really should be very rare, but it is counted as rare in the game. So, people might bring that up, people might do whatever, but definitely, if your item is at level of Flame Tongue or more powerful, it is at least very rare. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, still at the rare level, we have the 4th and 5th level spell scrolls, and we have save DCs of 15 and 16, right? So that's sort of that area. And you get into very rare, you have your +3 magic weapons shields, and then to your spell saves and attacks. And then you have your +2 magic armor. Again, you get a lot of play within this category. There's a lot of things that have a lot of options and a lot of stuff going on. So it's very, very good for that. You get now this is an interesting one, you get 6th, 7th, and 8th level spell scrolls with save DCs of 17 or 18. Right, so that's the only one that has 3 spell levels combined within it. So it's 6th, 7th, and 8th of spell scrolls in very rare. And finally, moving on to legendary. Honestly, in legendary, sort of anything goes. If you really think of it, there's a lot of play in sort of strength in legendary items. They're incredibly strong. They're incredibly sort of variable, right? You got all over the place sort of stuff in, actual content, homebrew content, all this sort of stuff. It can vary incredibly wildly. But sort of once you're over that very rare hurdle, you're in legendary for the rest of time, right? So because I'm not dealing with artifacts. And so that's sort of how it goes. Like Scarecrow said before, it is that +3 magic armor, and you have 9th level spell scrolls with save DCs of 19 or 20. So those are sort of the only sort of concrete things in legendary. Otherwise, it's your playground. Anything goes. You can do anything. Now, sort of the rule of thumb is how we go. After you sort of understand, this is very basic, right? There's so many magic items that are official items for D&D, and that's what you want to really use to your advantage, right? For 5e, you really want to be able to, look at the items that they have, official items, and find ones that look like the item you're trying to make, right? So let's say you're trying to make, a wand, okay? And you want this wand to do things, you're going to look at other wands. But you're also going to look at other things that do that similar ability. So a good example is we made a cape. It's called the Abishai Cloak, that gives you resistance to a type of damage based on what Abishai it is. Now, we specifically looked at the armor of resistance, right, to help base off what the rarity is for that, and that on its own is pretty high up there. I'm trying to remember what it is. I think it's at least rare, but it might be higher. But that's sort of a main thing we based off of that item. So that's a really great thing. And in doing that, in looking at the same rarity you want, looking up, down, and, you sort of get... Yeah, I think it's just rare. And then because we added sort of this magic resistance ability, that's pushed our item into the very rare category, in our opinion. But again, there is a lot of play. Okay, it is rare. So there is a lot of play. Not everyone's going to have the exact same thing. Some things might be more powerful in someone's game versus any other game, right? Because I think a good example is poison is very common for monsters to use against you, but poison is also very common for monsters to be resisted or immune to. So an item that deals poison damage, it's not really that useful with a lot of the default monsters, right? So honestly, it wouldn't end up being very powerful against certain groups of monsters. Take example, anything that is specifically like dragon slaying related, right? If your campaign has no dragons in it, then that item is less than worthless, my boy. So that's sort of something else to keep track of, that if it is niche versus if you're a campaign all about dragons, that might be pretty great. That might be pretty fantastic for you and in the party. So those are other things to keep in mind when you're giving out items. Exactly, Turkey David. Yeah, exactly. This is why, sadly, a lot of spells aren't poison spells, because you really don't get to use them very much. And it's definitely very sad, and it makes me very sad because I like Pokemon. Exactly, Scarecrow. There's the lore behind it, but it doesn't help you in game. So when you're looking at these items and when you start getting into it, you will start to get an understanding because you'll start to memorize, a lot of the items and where they're at and what their strength is and everything. But something interesting is, since you know that like a +1 weapon is uncommon, a +2 weapon is rare, and a +3 item is very rare, a weapon that is +1 wouldn't be rare unless it has something else that can increase the power, so another ability. But that additional ability or abilities should not increase past the power of a +3 magic weapon to stay in rare, right? So you can have a +1 sword that has an additional ability, but if that combined is more powerful than a +3 magic sword, then it has to be greater than very rare. I hope that makes sense. If that didn't make sense, please tell me, because I'll try to explain it differently. But I hope that made sense. Yeah, I agree, Dorky David. It really, really helps for that sort of case. It definitely assists there. It really, really does. Yeah, I love crafting specific items. I like using poison very loosely. In the sort of sense of that, like, poison by definition, not poison by essentially Pokemon type. I have a book that I like a lot. It's called Fungi of the Far Realms, and it's just a fun little sort of system agnostic supplement book that just allows you to roll 3d6 and pick a page and have a random mushroom It has sort of abilities on it. What was fun in my campaign is a lot of the poisons that you guys might have seen in on the curio. Those are made from the players. The players finding those mushrooms and asking to make poisons out of it. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? No. So see, Scarecrow, I love Pokemon type vibes, right? So in my campaign, resistances and immunities were all over the place and very, very varied, right? So I would have like metal creatures would be like immune to lightning or something, but maybe they're vulnerable to fire because it like melts them and it like causes their joints to move together, right? PF2E and yeah. Yeah, no, understandable, Dorky David, but unfortunately, it's definitely the best area for homebrew just because there's so many people going onto it. I mean, we personally hope to do more Pathfinder 2e homebrew, but we are kind of just getting started, so it's sort of a big thing. I agree, Scarecrow. I agree. Almost all my monsters were very specific. I've made, if you've seen some of the monsters on my thing, like the origami drake and the infused clay golems, like those are very all specifically, resistance and immunity and vulnerability vibes. So that was like a whole thing. I really enjoy that personally. But yeah. So going back to Rarity a little bit is you other items. I do like those too, Jerky David. I usually like the things that are like it treats immunity as resistance and resistance as normal. I made a poison, and it's called Dragon's Bane, and it's made from probably my favorite creature that I've made, which is called the Casavara, which I love very much, and I should do more on. And its whole thing is essentially lowering dragon-related resistances. Um, so I like that. I always liked that idea. Um, but yeah, so there's a lot of different things that can affect rarity as well, right? And one of those things specifically is constant abilities versus activated abilities, right? So always on abilities versus you need to use some sort of action economy in order to activate it, right? So having to use any sort of action economy, bonus action, reaction, full action, um, do indeed. I could go on all day about fireball and lightning bolt turkey day. That could be another thing. We can go do another thing about spells, because whew, boy, but no, exactly, Scarecrow. So it has to do with that sort of always being on is just inherently going to be more powerful than having to activate it because you don't have to use essentially a resource, right? And you can think about it like what's interesting is that I would never say that that using an action, a bonus action, or a reaction would necessarily be just default inherently better, like more powerful than one or the other, because it really depends on what class is going to use it. If you think about like a rogue or a ranger that has, or certain barbarians that have their bonus action sort of constantly used up by doing something that they want to do, items that use a bonus action they're really not gonna like, and they're really not gonna be useful to them because they really are gonna have to trade out using those sort of things, right? Similarly, if you have somebody that has a reaction like hellish rebuke on the warlocks and other things, or similar things like that, having items that use a reaction might not be as good for them specifically than other things. And so that's sort of an interesting thing. And that's something where you can talk about like attunement, specific attunement, why certain items are specifically, paladin only or warlock only or spellcaster only. That all usually has to do with just who can physically use it. There's very, very few. I think I can think of one, maybe two items that are specific attunement that aren't that reason because literally nobody else could use it. So, while that is true, Scarecrow, while you can do almost everything with a bonus action, with an action, a lot of class sort of synergy with themselves and a lot of subclasses is actually being able to use both, right? Like to set it up. So a big example that I can think about is a rogue being able to use their bonus action to hide, being their bonus action be able to disengage. You know, mainly hide is the big one for rogues with sneak attack, right? Great example. Dylan played a rogue in the last campaign that I DM'd. In that campaign, I introduced an item that I call Essence, and the literal whole point of Essence is to live out my Pokemon dream and allow everybody to have relative access to any sort of damage type. Right? So they came in all different colors, and based on what color, based on what damage type it is, everything but BPS, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing. So they had every other damage type, and they would need. So the idea was you used your bonus action to essentially consume. You wouldn't necessarily eat it, but you know, variously use an Essence, and that would make your next attack during that round be that type of damage, right? So if they used pink, it would be psychic, for example. Dylan, as a rogue, was very incredibly saddened by this because in order to do almost anything roguish, in order to get sneak attack, the thing that makes rogues keep up, you know, in combat, he wasn't always able to because why, Durkee David? Let me ask you why, because Dylan and I've had this talk because there's an interesting sort of thing to that, but I'd love to hear why you think so. But he couldn't use. He was the normal type. Yeah, and so he couldn't as effectively use that sort of thing as, say, a paladin that can smite anyway without using a bonus action. Right, the paladin can smite more with a bonus action, but that's not going to make or break him. What's going to make or break him is being able to actually deal damage now because his radiant is, you know, maybe it's an angel, maybe it's immune to radiant. Now he can make it, you know, poison or something, you know, psychic, and actually hit the angel. Now the paladin isn't using his bonus action all the time. So what happens, the reason I'm saying is that it's not inherently bonus action, I would say, is the better option to choose at any given time. It is solely because that it really matters who do you imagine using this. I think is a good example to think about when you're making items, right? Is what kind of character do you see benefiting from this item? And so in the long run, because I realized my mistake because Dylan told me about it, told me about it with his issue is that I gave him an item where he could use a little more pre-planning, right? He could shove in 3 different Essence, whatever 3 he wanted, so he doesn't have the full, you know, usability of everything without his bonus action, but then he could use them as a free action, and that allowed him to still keep up relatively well, you know, with everybody else in this sort of very specific game. But no, while you can definitely disengage with your action to use a bonus action item, it is important to think about that certain classes will be more hindered by items that constantly use their bonus action over their action, because it's very important to a lot of them that the action and bonus action work together, and they're not necessarily trading one, they actually need them both a lot of the time. I honestly don't think that's a very big problem, Dorky David. While they can sneak and hide, that's really like an enemy-specific thing. Certain enemies are not going to have them hide very much. Sneak attack is their whole thing. being a better ranger than a ranger is not a fault of rogue, it's a fault of the original ranger. There has been a lot of fixes to ranger, which is very nice, and a lot of the new subclasses are much, much better, and, you know, sort of revisions and things that they did for ranger and monk. But damage-wise, you know, action economy-wise, rogue, while it might be, you know, on the up there, it's not doing anything crazier than paladin or fighter, right? There's definitely ways to quote-unquote combat it if you feel you need to as a DM, but I don't think that being able to dash, being able to hide, is making or breaking the rogue as a thing. If you have a player that is deciding to leave combat instead, honestly, that's a faulting on the player, in my opinion. You know, maybe people have different opinions, but I mean, it's a faulting of the player, in my opinion, because in an ideal world, you should want to fight with your party and not just exit combat. So you are constantly popping in, popping out, and you can't always be popped out if you want to pop in, right? Because you only get one action, one bonus action. So if you're actually attacking, you need to be visible sometimes. I can see that, Scarecrow, especially with extra attack on the ranger and everything like that. But Ranger got some great updates. It originally, you know, and I don't know how updated Dorky David is, since he doesn't really play 5e to the new updates, but Ranger did get, I think it was Tasha's, some really great updates that actually made it, sort of a viable class again, because it sadly once upon a time was not really, and very unfortunate. Very sad. But, back to Rarity. I will still continue to answer questions and answer things in the chat. But back to Rarity. So there's other things that do affect Rarity. Hello, Dylan. Thank you. I do appreciate this. You're very helpful. Yeah, I kind of expected that, Jerky David. Yeah, because that's a rather recent thing. I think that's in like the past year or two, maybe two at most. I don't know timelines, but it's very recent. But back to rarities. So there's a few other things that can affect rarities. That is true, Scarecrow. It was definitely out of combat focus on a lot of things that a lot of DMs sort of just skip, right? A lot of DMing skips travel, skips survival, skips, you know, all those sort of things. And if you don't talk with your DM and pick a bad, like, best terrain or whatever it is called, or favored foe, or you know, and you pick a bad one, it's very, very sad that you never ever run into it. And I think that's why I think a good example is Critical Role. Right? You would have to imagine that Matt Mercer and I can't remember her name, her real name, but you know, Vex's player talked about that, like, okay, there will be dragons. Right, you know, obviously on the backstory and everything like that. But you can see it in there as well, that like for a long time she didn't get to use Trinket very much, very sadly, because of sort of being a bear, and the bear stays outside and everything. But she does get that item eventually that lets it sort of come with her more and thus fight more. But you can sort of see those shortcomings there and having to be solved at the table rather than just sort of existing, versus like a paladin wouldn't necessarily have to worry about that as much. But yeah, rarity. So certain things affect rarity, like attunement. And so how does attunement affect rarity? Attunement technically pushes, quote unquote, the power down. And what I mean by that is the rarity down. So if something is at the cusp of a rarity, so let's say it's like really high rare, but it's kind of low very rare, and you're not really sure which one it's going to be in, or you really wanted it to be rare, but you don't really want to take anything away, something that you can do is make it require attunement, right? And the reason for that is that attunement is kind of like a resource, right? You only get 3 slots. You can only have 3 things attuned at a time, so it does matter. So that's something that can sort of help you decide, push it down, that sort of thing. Another thing that can affect rarity is a curse. Now, it does depend on how strong the curse is. A very powerful curse that is actually debilitating in a significant way can make a weapon move down a tier. Right. Yep. That's another one, Dorky David. Having, you can use it anytime, anywhere. You don't have to worry about it versus having charges. That's definitely going to change. The amount of charges is also going to change, right? Something that has a very powerful ability, but you can only use it once a day, wouldn't be, thanks PCM, wouldn't be as strong as something that has that same ability, but you can use it 5 times a day. That is also true, Scarecrow. It does depend on what item it is and exactly how it works. There's a raid? Oh no. Oh, from that raid? I see. Well, that was, thank Jamie. That was Jamie's suggestion. What was I saying? I got lost. Getting passed around the party. Personally, I haven't encountered that because I think a lot of our party's problem is out of sight, out of mind. And a lot of magic items just get forgotten about and thrown to the wayside. But yeah, so Rarity can fix that issue as well if you have that concern. It can help with that. I'm sorry, Attunement can help with that. So back with curses. A curse actually has to be debilitating in order for it to really affect the tier of the rarity, right? And that is because if it's just sort of like, take for example the beard of the belt of dwarven kind, you grow a beard, right? That doesn't actually do anything like statistically, mathematically. The beard doesn't affect your vision in one way or the other. The beard doesn't weigh you down or something, right? So that's, while it's a fun, flavorful curse, it is not a rarity affecting curse. I hope that makes sense. Yep, that is something you can do as well. Curse takes 2 attunement slots. That could be up there. I'd have to if Dylan is still here, if he thinks that is sort of, because Dylan's sort of the main rarity guy for the curio. He's the one that really helps with all the balance there. I've learned everything from him. So Dylan, if you are here, we're talking about sort of the balance of rarity PCM in specifically 5e, right? Mainly on the homebrew sense, right? Whether you're making it for your own table or making it for your, a social media thing. Because rarity really does help when you're supposed to give items to one. Make sure that everybody is sort of evened out in power-wise. Okay, so there you go. The 2 attunement slot curse would be a good power limiter curse. How nice. Thank you very much, Dylan. Yeah, so we briefly talked about charges. Now, the thing with charges is it does have a limit to how effective it is, right? Having 100 charges per day is effectively equal to just having it forever, right? Not necessarily on forever, but always being able to use it, because you're never gonna run out of you're never gonna run out of 100 charges per day, right? Of course, you make everything you say a show tune. I think that's more of a player's curse than necessarily a character's curse. That you did, Dylan, that you did. It was a NPC. His name was Bartleby, and he was cursed to always sing, and so Dylan did a very good job of coming up with rhymes on the fly about this bee answering the party's questions, and he did very well. It was very, very good. But there's definitely moments where you could see he had like held a note to think about it. But in the game, In the game, we didn't really notice. It was very, very good. He was grand. He was adorable. The second he was introduced, everybody in the party was very much enamored by him and needed to save him, no matter the cost. So, very good on Dylan there in order to make that a very compelling character for us. It was also description in the way that he was cursed. If I remember correctly, he sort of had like a painful collar on, and every time that he sort of had like a break moment where you're sort of struggling for a word, for a rhyme, or it's kind of not a great rhyme, the collar would like choke him, and we were like very in like, oh no, not the bee, we need Bartleby to live. So it was very good, very compelling. Um, Another thing that can affect rarity is the save DC. Now, as I briefly talked about before, each item does have sort of a relative save DC. But the thing about that is, you are totally welcome to break the mold, right? You don't need to have a um, a save DC within that now, within those parameters. But what I will say is that raising the save DC higher than what the parameters are is really not the way to do it. But what you could do is you could have like a stronger ability with a lower save DC, and that can help sort of lower the rarity. And the reason for that is because something with a save DC that's like 13, but let's say it's rare, most of the monsters you're fighting when you're going to get a rare item are going to save that easily. But when they don't, then it's like a big deal, right? So that's sort of how you can deal with that a little bit. That one's a little more that one can be a little difficult because it does matter what the pluses certain monsters are, because there might be a certain point of time where they literally can never fail certain DC levels, but that is something you can play around with. Another thing to keep in mind is sort of what we briefly touched upon with the damage types is what save it is, right? Now, most saves, as you all probably know, are wisdom and dexterity, right? Those are the big two. A lot of monsters will also have constitution and strength saves. Maybe instead of dex, they'll have strength. So those are very common as well. The uncommon ones are intelligence and charisma. Now, of course, there are very specific groups of enemies, of monsters that do have good intelligence, good charisma saves, but the vast majority of monsters that you're going to fight are not going to have these saves. So making an item that uses one of those saves is going to be a little more on the powerful side than ones using, say, wisdom or dex, right? Because those are much more common and much more common to be used against, right? So those are sort of a big deal there. And that's sort of a way to do it. That's exactly Dorky David. That's how we gotta go. That's interesting, Dorky David. That could be a fun idea. Ooh, a cool. We can definitely talk about that, PCM. We can definitely talk about that. I have one more thing on rarity, and this does have to do with consumable, right? So now, items that are consumable could be in a lower rarity tier than items that aren't consumable. And so a good example of this is that a wand of magic missile, which casts a first level spell, can be used more than once, and it isn't consumable. You get those charges back on the next day. Now, it does have a couple other things going on, like you can upcast it, but a wand of magic missile is uncommon, versus a scroll of magic missile is a one-time use, can't be upcasted. That is common, right? So you kind of got to think about it that way a little bit. Oh, that'll be nice, PCM. But though, another good example of the sort of consumable items is when we talk about invisibility. You have the potion of invisibility. The potion of invincibility is very rare. You use it once and it's done, and it gives you an hour of invisibility. On the other hand, there is a cloak of invisibility, which is legendary, and it gives you 2 hours of invisibility, and then after not being used for 12 hours, it regains an hour of time, but it never gets consumed, right? Now, here's on top of that a good example as to why legendary is all over the place. There is also a ring of invisibility, which is also legendary. And this ring of invisibility essentially is the ring from Lord of the Rings. You put it on, you use an action, you're invisible until you don't want to be, or until the ring gets removed. So if you think about that, why is the cloak of invisibility legendary and at the same, rarity level as the ring of invisibility legendary? And that's sort of one of those things where it's just like, when you get to legendary, it's kind of all over the place a little bit. But there you can see sort of the consuming there, right? Something that is one time use, one consume might be on the lower end than something that has relatively the same ability, but can be either recharged, reused, all these sort of things. That is everything that I have on rarities. Does anybody have any questions, more questions about rarities? Dylan, do you have anything else you'd like to add about rarities? That's all I have written down, written ready, written done. Gonna take a sip of water while you all furiously type because you're burning with questions. Yes. Sip? Yes, I'm sip. Yep, that's a good one, Perry's Perry. I don't believe that is true, actually, Scarecrow. I will look it up. That is true. So you are right. The ring does make you visible again once you attack. That is true. But still, it's definitely sort of like a variable thing though, Because out of combat, that's like hella, And honestly, the cloak has a lot more tracking to it, but they're definitely not the same power, but they're in the same tier, and that's a good example of a sort of what Parry said about it being that there is a flux within each tier, right? It's not just everything is going to be the same power. That's rare. Some things could be better rares than other rares, but as long as it is better than uncommon, but not as good as very rare, then you're good. And that's where sort of Flame Tongue fails, is because Flame Tongue is as good as very rares, which it shouldn't be, and that's why it should be in very rare. So yeah. Wait a little longer for questions. I'll actually draw now, unlike I was totally not doing before, because reading, you can't really read and draw. At least I can't. If someone out there can, I color me impressed. But yeah. Not enough. Poison, maybe I could see. Scarecrow. Poison, maybe I could see. Fire is, if I remember correctly, the most common spell damage type. So obviously it's not that concerning, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm gonna use the word concerning. I like the word concerning. Yes. No, that's poison, PCM. Poison's resisted by everyone and their mothers. Goodness. You ever do the math? If you are super bored and or procrastinating from doing something very important, I highly recommend doing the math. Because it's wild, and it makes me very sad. And that's why I did my campaign the way I did. Pokemon style. It might be second from poison in that, but I'd have to check. I think I only did math on spell damage and creature damage. We'll see if I'll be able to find it though. Google Drive. What were you supposed to see? Sopping PCM? I'm sorry. Maybe I can't find it. No, don't think I can find it. Yeah, can't find it. But you do definitely, I think a good moniker is going by the amount of spells that you have, though. Like, spells, the most amount of spells is fire damage spells. So obviously fire damage is pretty useful, versus when you look at it and it's like poison damage isn't a big spell category at all. It's one of the lowest. That sort of means that like it's not really as useful. Now you do have a sort of a couple in there that are like force is going to be an outlier solely because that force is supposed to be quote unquote like the most powerful one because it's not resisted by anything. But yeah, that's that. Alrighty. Well, if there's no other questions, I will go into, or comments, theories, projections, you know, whatever. And if there's none other than that, I will go into our session recap for our last Pathfinder session because, whew, it was a doozy. It really was. Can't believe it. I don't even know where it's gonna go, if I'm being honest, from where the cliffhanger was, but we'll see. Alrighty, we'll get into that. So, we have our last Pathfinder session, our most recent one. Just happened. So, I'm very, very fresh in my mind. But, when we last left the party, they had almost reached the town of Alloway. But, on the last stretch, they ran into a crime scene. Just catching Sylvia, who they had met earlier, being taken away in handcuffs, the party made the rather knee-jerk reaction to agree to represent Sylvia in court, becoming adversaries of prosecutor Lindell. After managing to convince the stout circuit judge of their competence, they all signed the necessary paperwork solidifying their role in the trial proceedings. They would have 2 days before the trial, and tomorrow they would be presenting their findings to Lindell during discovery. With all that settled, the party was ready to start their investigation, but not before overhearing the prosecutor mention an eyewitness. Eager to find out who this was, the party agreed to send Hyba, Miss Molly's familiar, to follow Lindell to the witness and report back. Meanwhile, Lycori set to investigate the crime scene. There was no body, not even pieces, only a large pool of oddly colored blood and an incredibly aromatic flower. This flower was the same flower that had been seen in Llewellyn's hair the night before, and Llewellyn is the one who is assumed to have been murdered. This flower is called Linger Lesh. Meanwhile, Casimir found an empty bottle with traces of a golden liquid in a bush nearby. And upon closer examination, Miss Molly saw that the pool of blood seemed to have been mixed with a golden liquid, causing its discoloration. The party turned their search to some stray blood drops off to the side, and Lycori found that one of those spots was actually a week or two older than the fresh blood. As the party finished their search of the crime scene, Hyba returned from his solo mission. Sadly, the little ferret could only communicate using emotions, and his artistic skills left much to be desired. No information was really gleaned. In light of this, the party argued on what to do next. Casimir wanted to go after the prosecutor to find out who the eyewitness was, while Lycori wanted to check out the hill where the eyewitness might have been viewing the murder from. Their decision was made for them, however, when Eloria and Lycori heard a sigh coming from the hill above. When the party made it to the top, they found an avocado leshy staring deep into another lingerlesh flower, which had been growing there on the hill. And a random rundown shack that could not be seen from the road below was behind him. The party's initial attempts to talk with the leshy were futile until Umfalo loudly stepped on a twig and startled him. "Who are you? Don't take my flower! It's mine!" the leshy shouted. The party reassured him that they were not after the flower, and he was willing to answer some questions. Nico, the leshy, had been standing there staring at the flower for a while now, days, and had overheard some noises the night before. "Yeah, there was a noise, like a shing-shing, but no clang-clang." He also told the party about the ghostly noises that come from the shack at night, but that not just anyone could enter. The shack had to choose you. Casimir, believing himself chosen, confidently walked toward the shack door behind Nico's flower, which startled Nico and put him into defense mode, reaching out to attack at Casimir and the rest of the party. Lycori did manage to calm Nico down once more, and Casimir entered the shack, only to walk right back out, without ever turning around. While Casimir continued to try and fail to walk into the shack through the door, Hyba spotted something on the wall of the shack, but neither Miss Molly nor Lycori could discern it. So Lycori set to removing the dirt from the wall, hoping to uncover what Hyba was insistently poking at. After the umpteenth try, Casimir actually managed to walk into the shack. It was all an illusion that caused those who entered to get turned around and walk right back out. Thinking he could throw his grappling hook out the door to pull the other party members through, he readied his aim. As he threw the grappling hook towards the open doorway, he realized that there was a larger possibility of him hitting Nico's flower and causing him to attack the rest of the party still outside the shack. With lightning-fast reflexes, Casimir just managed to redirect the arc of the grappling hook to impact the inner wall of the shack instead, and the resounding clatter actually assisted in Lycori's cleaning of the wall. Eloria then walked right into the shack without much issue, and Miss Molly and Lycori disabled the magic runes that had been uncovered, removing the illusion completely. With the entire party now inside the shack, they descended deeper into the hill. At the bottom, the passageway opened up to an area with more lingerlesh flowers, some rush sacks of various things, and an ornate rug. While examining the room, a pained, horrifying face slowly began to materialize from a wall. As the party readied for a fight, Eloria decided to take a closer look and learned that this was a trapped spirit. Feeling bad for the guy, Miss Molly tried to communicate with it, calming him down a bit. It didn't seem to really understand Common, but Casimir spoke Necrol, the language of the dead, and could communicate with him. Through this, the party learned that this spirit, Kirok, was once a captain of the guard, just like Llewellyn, though it didn't seem that Llewellyn was a captain at the same time as Kirok. It turns out that Kirok was murdered by someone stabbing him in the back, and the last thing that he remembered was seeing blood, his own blood, spill out onto the ground, mixed with a golden color. With all this new information, Miss Molly took a closer examination at the vial they had found at the crime scene and discovered that it was Vishkanya venom. Just then, Miss Molly heard more Necrol coming from somewhere else inside the hill, so the party picked back up their search. Lycori discovered a trapped door, hidden beneath the ornate rug. It was locked, but before anyone could protest, Casimir took out his crowbar and broke the lock right off. The party descended further underground down a staircase and found a rather concerning sight on the other side. A large, glowing circle of runes lay on the floor in front of them. 4 chained and slumped-over bodies faced the wall on one side, and a decapitated head sat on the ground between them, following the members with its eyes as they paced the room. As Casimir approached the glowing circle to investigate further, the head closed its eyes, opened its mouth, and shouted a command. Immediately, the 4 bodies stood up, their chains never attached to the wall in the first place. And that's where the session ended. We got some clues. I honestly took the most notes I ever took in campaign history, and not being a DM, because otherwise I don't take notes. But yeah, with that, we're slowly trying to figure out this murder mystery. Honestly, being that there is no body, if Ace Attorney taught me anything, it does seem like there might not have been a murder at all. You know? Who knows? Who knows? That's what Ace Attorney Rise from the Ashes taught me, right? If there's a pool of blood but no body, no one actually died. That's it. Could just be a cut from a hand, lots of blood spilling everywhere. That's the secret. Alrighty. So yeah, if anybody else wants to share their, stories from the week, you are more than welcome to do so. I know PCM, you said there's some Neffy updates. Oh, you would, but dinner time? Food time? It's always food time for... Oh, no? Oh, we're missing Mars. Mars is sadly gonna be late. I learned. I figured it out. Yeah, Mars was being very nice today. Oh no, I'm sorry, Scarecrow. Well, tell us something about your character. I don't think you've shared anything about your campaign. Yet? You're pretty new. I'm glad you like ours. We try to recount it every week. There's definitely been some funky stuff going on. And Dylan thoroughly enjoyed Ace Attorney, but mostly actually what it is, I think, is that 3 of our 5 party members have law-related backgrounds in some way. Yeah, they have law-related backgrounds in some way, so it's sort of like they wanted Dylan wanted a court proceedings. And while I'm excited, I like the investigation part. I'm not particularly ready for the actual court proceedings. solely for the fact that it's just like, I feel at a disadvantage. A player disadvantage. 2 thanks? Only 2 thanks, Dylan? Yeah, anything interesting happen in before? What's the most interesting thing? Or Scarecrow, since there's no players here for you to spoil, unless there is, I don't know. You can always talk about cool things you have planned as a DM. That's sort of the idea we hope for here, trying to allow people to talk about things, because I know that as a DM, unfortunately the person that I would mostly talk to about campaign stuff was Dylan, is Dylan. But Dylan was part of the campaign, so I couldn't really talk so much. He has the same issue now, being the DM as well. He wants to talk to me about stuff, but he can't. So this space is sort of supposed to be a place for that, right? A place to either tell a story to somebody who wasn't there, because all of my friends play D&D with me, or listen to all those juicy DM plans that you have without feeling the need to spoil. All up to you. All up to y'all. Yeah, I wanted to make some together art of Mars and I for a while now. But I just kind of never had gotten around to it, so I'm happy to be able to do it. I don't know why this song just sounded like it was starting a Michael Bublé song, but it did. Maybe I'm just a fan. I don't know. I only know certain songs. Yeah. If you are typing a lot right now, Scarecrow, I would just be careful. Twitch does have a word limit. Oh, there you are. It all worked out there. Ooh, another mystery campaign. Look at this. Ooh. Ooh, that's fun. That's certainly fun, Scarecrow. Dylan and I actually had an idea. I think it was mainly Dylan's idea, but it stemmed from the fact that I as a player don't enjoy playing human characters, solely for the fact that it's like I'm human and I think they're boring aesthetically. Why be a human when you can have horns and scales and feathers and stuff, in my opinion. But it was like this whole world where the humans were like barbarians, right? Barbaric, but they're actually very strong because of that, and all the other non-human races sort of like cowered and hide from them, right? So humans are like to be feared. So kind of the reverse, like goblins or hobgoblins and stuff, but it's like humans. And that was really fun. Might have to try a campaign like that in Pathfinder sometime, Dylan. You're still here. Otherwise, I might eventually. I don't know when I DM again, though. A dragon. Ooh. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Does he have to keep them alive? Oh god, dang. Whew, that's intense. Hello, Modroids. Aw, thank you very much. That means a lot. Yeah, we had a really good outcome and everything, so it's very, very nice. We got a lot of people reading it, so it meant a lot. So everybody who read it, thank you very much. Ooh, I see, Scarecrow. That is very true. Aw, thank you. Thank you, thank you. We're excited to keep it going. I'm sort of on like a comic kick now. And we're I'll promote this now, but we have a launch party on Thursday, and there's gonna be like Outcast trivia, and there's gonna be seeing the opening and seeing like the first entry that we actually scrapped and replaced with what is the prologue, so the first entry you guys read, and everything like that. So that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, yeah, do get hype. Yeah, it'll be like a prize from the trivia. So winners like first, second, third place gets like certain prizes, and then we'll be drawing chibis because I don't draw chibis and I want to draw chibis.
You're
Aw, thank
drawing
you.
babies?
Not now. Now I'm drawing you and me. Hello. Welcome. You're earlier than I
Hello,
expected
hello.
you.
Oh, am I?
Yes, I believe so. You're
Oh,
like on time and you said you'd be
yeah,
late.
I thought I was gonna be late. They actually let us out of class a little early tonight,
Ah,
so I
very
was
nice.
pleasantly surprised.
Very nice. Very nice.
And then the detour I had to take didn't take as long as I thought it would, so
Good.
that was
Especially this late.
phenomenal.
Ah,
Oh yeah,
yes. We can definitely talk about an Effie now. Very nice. Scarecrow just
yes.
told us
Oh,
about their campaign, which is a very interesting thing with a warlock
ooh.
hoarding humans like a dragon would hoard gold.
Oh.
Well, you're getting
Oh,
there,
that's an
PCM.
interesting concept. I like that.
Yeah, PCM Words on Stream is happening Thursday as well, and stream pairs, so that's more points there.
I gotta give my little disclosure real quick. I am definitely eating dinner right now. Apologies for any chewing noises, guys. If it gets annoying, just let me know.
Definitely don't forget to play bingo for your points.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's the start of a new week.
Start of a new week. I don't know if I did anything yet. I don't think I
I
sang
mean,
yet.
unless you're one of those people who starts your week on Sunday, but
And you're
we
ridiculous, and we
usually
don't welcome
don't.
you here.
Wow,
I
Ori,
hate.
your policy has gotten a lot harsher than I last checked.
No, I dislike ASMRs.
Some
ASMRs.
You know, we
Yeah,
actually got
mukbang.
called an ASMR channel last year.
No, so what happened was is that at least in the Ace Attorney videos that we put out on YouTube, I can see what other nice PCM
Mm.
ASMR I can see what videos are who's a moetzing? What videos are recommending our videos algorithm wise, and it's all, and a lot of times it's like weird ASMR videos, and I'm talking like storytelling ASMR, right? I'm talking like those one where it's like hot demon captures you and
So
brings you to hell,
we're
and
not
it's like,
getting like roped in
okay,
with food chewing ASMR or like
yeah,
water
no,
bubbling
no. It's
ASMR.
it's it's not like soap carving or
Not that I
or
mind.
yeah, it's not like soap carving or like, yeah, like mukbang or something. It's literally like what I just said, like a sexy demon kidnaps you and brings you to hell sort of vibe, which is wild.
We do got Dylan, and you made his avatar very, very nice.
Yep.
Exactly, Bard starter.
Sexy demons. Well, we do have that one sexy demon that I drew for Dylan. He made it his profile picture, so you know he likes it.
See, that's when you know.
Did I?
I feel like you know you've done good art when the person it's for uses it as their profile.
Yes.
Like that often happens when I commission people. I've
Yes.
just always used it without fail.
I'm gonna find it again. I think it's here. My folder system is certainly odd, is all I'm gonna say. Yeah, there he is. This guy is in our Pathfinder game. Scarecrow, I don't think you've seen him, but yeah, and I gotta show off the detail every time. Look at the detail on the
Gosh,
pattern.
it's
It's
so good,
beautiful. It's
guys.
grand.
This level of detail
Yeah.
is insane,
So
and
here's
oh,
sexy
it's
demon
amazing.
Tiamat, not doormat. I know, Parry, right? Isn't he smexy? You know, there's this guy, you know, the DM Dylan, he commissioned it for me, right? Well, he didn't, you know, I sort of owe him.
Mark for oh,
But it was all his idea. So, I just brought it to reality. I forget what that garment is called, Parry. I think you know what it's called, right?
you know, he now implies that there's a connected universe between all our campaigns because it has names from other campaigns
Sherwani,
in
there
there.
you go. Oh no
Not
no
a
no no.
connected universe going on, or
Mars,
dimension hopping.
you know the existence of Lemonsworth means the existence of multiple dimensions and dimension hoppings. So thus, every campaign is linked.
But I thought it was only possible for Lemonsworth. Now it's possible for others.
It's just dimension hopping exists, right? You know, like think of the Thor Dark World stuff, right? It's just like it's just like, you know, maybe people just end up in other worlds, right? Also, I would have to say that demons, devils probably dimension hop a lot more than normal people, right? Because then they can get the most contracts, right? Maybe there's only one hell, but there's lots of like Middle Earths, material planes, you know? Who knows?
That's true, Perry. How could I forget?
What? You did? Last session? Who was the watery grave one? In the last session. Oh, I didn't get that. And that was my character. Sorry.
I mean, you talking with spirits was kind of like a one and done deal. I feel like if you didn't remember that, like, no harm, no foul. I mean, maybe. I'm no DM. I'm no DM.
Okay, Scarecrow, you're gonna make me talk about Lemonsworth. Lemonsworth is beautiful. Lemonsworth,
Lemonsworth is epic.
Oh, I didn't get that, Parry. I love that. Oh my god, that's awesome. I didn't get that. Shit, damn. Nice. Nice. Hella nice. Alright.
Okay, I gotta be honest, I didn't catch the crystal ball thing either.
I didn't get that was supposed to be a V-ship, but I love it. I love it. Top tier.
The name, and I was like, wow, that sounds familiar. I don't know why.
High quality. But yeah, so Scarecrow, so Lemonsworth is something that Dylan and I came up with because I think I was just being annoying to Dylan on the phone, and I like got on this pompous voice and oh, I'm Arnold Lemonsworth, and just made up a whole thing. And essentially, long story short, oh, hello, Witch and Smith. Oh, this is good timing.
Hey,
not at the end of stream, so
oh
that's
my
good. I'm glad we have time. But welcome, thank you for the raid.
Oh yes, no, you're pretty early tonight. Welcome, welcome,
yeah,
one and
hope
all.
You guys were doing fun stuff over there.
Yes. We're just kind of chilling.
Hello,
I don't know. I'm waiting for Ori to give me some direction here.
Charismatic canine. I like that.
Charismatic canine. Ooh, nice
I like
name.
I like that name. But yeah, so
I really
Lemonsworth,
like that. Got alliteration going for it.
Lemonsworth is a lot of things. But yes, PCM also has story time. But Lemonsworth is essentially backstory is that Arnold Lemonsworth was a magic user that got so powerful that he became a lich. And his whole thing is that he is very, very bent on balance, right? So not more good, not more evil. He needs it to be balanced, neutrality. Lich,
like all things should be.
Yeah, exactly, perfectly balanced. And Lich Lemonsworth is actually so powerful that he became essentially a warlock patron to all the others Lemonsworths. And so every single universe, every single timeline has a Lemonsworth. And now, Lemonsworths, except the Lich Lemonsworths, are not immortal, so they do die eventually. However, they usually do live a lot longer than, your average person, but their whole thing is very much being like able to blend into the crowd. You know, sometimes they're pulling strings in the background, sometimes they're pulling strings in the foreground, right? So it's a fun thing to be like, who's the Lemonsworth? But there's a whole process of that, like the Lemonsworth of that dimension chooses candidates that they think will be good enough to become the next Lemonsworth, and then they pull the strings in order to make that person become the new Lemonsworth, and then they like mind wipe them so they only ever know being Arnold Lemonsworth. Or I played a character that was Arlena Lemonsworth. So, you know, they can be women too. They can be any race, but they do shapeshift into like everything else. And, you know, disguise self, and they're incredibly charismatic and all those sort of things. So it's a fun game that I like to play, that I have roped Mars into now after telling Mars about Lemonsworth, that is every single campaign, whether it's run by me, whether it's run by somebody else, has a Lemonsworth in it, whether the DM wants it to or not, right? There is a Lemonsworth that exists, and it's fun to like decide who is the Lemonsworth.
It is inevitable. You continue
I
with
should
that
have a picture of Arlena Lemonsworth so I can bring that up. It's old, but
It is
D&D
fair that you're only
character.
picturing Lemongrab's Scarecrow. I was very confused when I heard it at first too.
That's lovely, charismatic canine, beautiful. But yeah, let me grab Arlena at least, if I can find her. I should be able to.
Charismatic canine. It sounds like your bard just rolled with it. He goes with the flow.
Oh, what you might have not known, Mars, is that Arlena Lemonsworth actually had a familiar, which was a weasel.
Oh my god.
Here
I
is
think
the
we're gonna
very
all start
old
looking
art
at Hybo a little differently
of
now.
Arlena Lemonsworth. Yeah, so, you know, yellow, this sort of thing. She was a Kalashtar, but yeah, so then we have the little weasel and everything.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, we did PCM. She came back.
We
yes,
did,
they are
yes.
some heels. Gotta be wild. Gotta be crazy. Yeah, dang, this is old art. I feel old. I did like a reel that was like your first digital art and like your most recent digital art, and it was like pain.
I saw that. And you said you were never gonna show that art to people. Though I feel like you've shown it a lot on stream.
I definitely have shown it. Yeah, I definitely have shown it around.
It's just a minor devil problem, PCM.
How dare you, Scarecrow? How could you do this to me? That would be good, PCM. I do hope that that works out. Oh, I bombed. I just realized...
This is one of those moments where I miss the sounds that we used to use.
We have them. People just have to buy them. You can buy them still, Mars.
Oh, what are you guys waiting for?
I don't have unacceptable. I just have the Randy ones. But you can buy them still. I should add more.
Suck this knife.
It's more just something I would have to do, you know? Less that it's like I can do it. I just have to do it. Literally.
Well, that's
beautiful.
the word there, having to do it.
Fantastic. All right. I realized I keep
thinking...
At
least you have backup PCM.
I keep thinking that Parry is typing sentences that start with 2, but I realize that it's just the way that my chat is shrunk, is that every time you Parry at Scarecrow's last number is 2, and it just comes on to the next line, and so it's just weird. And I was like, why do you keep starting with 2? And I realized why. That's why. All right.
Another mystery solved.
Indeed. Mars, if you would like to briefly talk about anything, sort of campaign or whatever related, while I quickly go get water, I will be right back.
So like a summary? Have you done that yet?
I did the summary. Boomer confirmed. Thank you. I did the summary. Yeah, but yeah. So I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, okay. So this was something Pathfinder had, which I gotta be honest, I'm still kind of a newbie, so I don't know if D&D had this. Although I'm sure there's options where you don't have to fight. But I'm sure Ori mentioned the part with the Leshy we had encountered at I call it the Illusion Shack. And then the wall that had the spirit in it that well, no, it definitely tried to harm. I do remember having to make saves against that. So those were I believe encounters, if I'm not mistaken, and hopefully my brain is working. I found those very interesting, and again, it probably is doable in D&D, but like in Pathfinder, it's explicitly an encounter, so it's like you don't need to fight that. You can like talk your way out of it. You could take another option. Oh, hazards parry. Okay. Oh, yay! I did remember. I'm so happy. Okay. So encounters, or more specifically, hazards.
Good
Very,
job.
very cool mechanic. I personally love it because it just it allows you to think outside the box a little bit. Like it's not just attack, attack, attack. There's like other stuff you could do as well. Which honestly, the wall telegraphed that perfectly. I mean, the Leshy also did too. I mean, it was cute. We didn't want to hurt it. But the wall telegraphs that perfectly too, because it's like, how do you attack a wall? There's probably another way around this. So that honestly, that might be one of my one of the favorite aspects of Pathfinder. Like, I really like that inclusion. Even if my brain wasn't working that night, it was actually super funny. I don't know how much Ori mentioned, but a little bit of metagaming here. At one point, I decide I want to talk to the wall. So Molly had to roll a persuasion check, and luckily it did pass. But before that, I was like, okay, what do you say to the wall? And I literally just forgot what I wanted to say. So what comes out of my mouth is, hi, you seem sad. Do you want to talk?
Oh my
Like,
god, that's so much better.
I happened to roll really freaking well on that, so our DM was just like, yeah, okay, the wall just needed a therapy session. That worked. I'm like, wow.
Miss Molly's cute enough. She's
Words,
a little doll.
words did not match roll.
Miss Molly's a little doll. So it was just adorableness. It didn't matter what she said. She just could have said like, hello, I'm Molly. And it would just be like, oh.
Ori, I'm actually so curious, because like, okay, our group is brilliant. I mean, being a writer, I definitely do a little bit better when I have like some kind of idea of what direction I'm going. I'm getting better at improv. I'm definitely getting better at improv. Therapy efficiency. Ah, crap, I rolled a 1.
No.
I failed. I fell in the toilet.
Crit failed. Crit failed.
But yeah, we have a fantastic group of improvisers in our particular table. You guys are just so good at coming up with those speeches on the spot, which is amazing. I wonder if you ever find yourself like, not in a corner, so to speak, but like, do you ever have a moment where you're like, shit, my brain is empty and I forgot how words work? Like, how do you deal with that at the moment? Do you feel the pressure to like respond? Do you feel the pressure to respond right away, or do you like, okay, let me think this over, and then you're able to kind of construct something? Like, how do you deal with that? I'm very curious.
At this moment, I can't say that I can specifically recall like a moment where that happened to me, right? Like I can't specifically recall like oh god, what do I say here, and then doing it. I'm like thinking about it the whole time, and I would also say that I think a lot of my characters are not necessarily like me, but are something that I can like understand very easily. Like I'm not trying to play.
I feel like that's a lot easier to play.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to play something that is like way out of left field of my personality, me personally, right? Like I'm not trying to play something that's like I can't relate to how this character feels at all, like in it, like an empathy or like a sympathy wise, right? So I would say that that sort of probably makes it relatively easy because I already like to talk. So, it makes it kind of easy.
Yeah, that does work out nicely.
I think there's sort of like a multitasking to it, right? Where
Oh, definitely.
I'm relatively confident in the fact of understanding how roles work and understanding how whatever works and how to do it, that I'm sitting here and I already know what I want to say by the time I'm rolling for it, right? If a good example is a lot of times, especially like me, Dylan, when he's a player, definitely doesn't usually necessarily ask to roll first, right? You just sort of start talking first.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I would like that to convince him or something. Like, so if I was in.
Well, Perry, that's been my strategy.
That's the best reaction. That's beautiful, charismatic canine. But also, yeah, that's exactly how Pathfinder works. That game you talked about, that's exactly how Pathfinder works, is you get XP for, like, doing everything, honestly. So it, like, means doing it. Hello,
Charismatic canine, I respect that so much.
That's very
Sometimes
true, Han.
You words get are too hard. Into it. Hi, Hanfire.
She should turn back. PCM, make her turn back.
But there's something behind her.
I can't believe it.
She's surrounded.
I think it's definitely...
It's a trap!
Like a, Oh, I've realized that the stream elements thing is wrong. I will have to fix that.
I was about to say.
The comic is out now. But...
Please go read it.
I think it's definitely like, we're talking first and rules come second. So in that case where it was like, okay, you wanted to talk to the wall, you would say what you wanted to say to the wall and then say, I'm trying to, like, calm him down. I'm trying to understand what's going on, right? If that makes sense. So it's like, when I think a speech that you probably know is the one Avisha gave to Boz when he was running away before we catapulted down into hell. You really liked that one, I remember. That was just
very much.
That speech was definitely a combination of, like, I feel that way. Like, I'm not trying to preach, I'm not trying to, like, talk about something that, like, is very different from my own personal views, right? So that made it easier. And the fact that, like, if there was, like, I'm trying to convince him to not fight, or I am trying to goad him on, or whatever, that role would come after, in my opinion, right? So I would give the speech, and then it's like, Dylan, I would like that to have convinced him to leave us alone, and then he would be like, okay, roll, persuasion or whatever it would be.
See, I knew mine would be like basically a persuasion check, because I didn't want to fight the wall, and I wanted him to stop fighting us.
Yeah.
Having like the knowledge that I had about it.
And that's the benefit of actually having dice and stuff, right? Because that allows you to be not someone that does have that sort of, like, charisma, necessarily in real life, of, like, convincing people always. And then, yeah.
I see. Interesting perspective.
Okay, so that's what Dylan says. Rolls are to have your described words and actions potency measured. It's how successful or unsuccessful you were. So that's why it's very much...
I guess do you want to talk ranked very high? I just find it funny,
struck a chord
because,
with him.
like, it was just a moment where my brain completely failed, and I was like, words! I need words!
Yes.
And I was like, okay, yeah, that was convincing. I'm like, really? Now that was a very fun session.
Yeah, Scarecrow. I think that's the way to sort of push role play, right?
Yeah, sometimes you need to do that, Scarecrow. I feel like maybe I did that at first. Like, I was more interested in what do I need to do? And then it's like, well, you're role playing, so you gotta say something first. I think that happened to me. I feel like that did happen to me. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, charismatic. I like playing high charisma characters, but not because of that. I like playing high charisma characters because I like to talk. So I like that when I talk in game, I'm actually decent at talking in game instead of putting my foot in my mouth all the time, right?
See,
because it's that sort of thing.
sometimes I'm decent at talking in game. It really is a flip of the coin. I am glad it went in our favor, Perry. I am very glad.
Oh no, it definitely did.
That we were able to convince him.
Yeah, Scarecrow, I think it's definitely like it's a balance you have to strike, right? When players are new, a lot of times all they think about are rolling dice, right? Especially if they came from like video game background first.
I think they focus on the mechanics a lot more.
There's focus on the mechanics
in all honesty.
And then you also have to be like a good DM in the sense of, and I'm not saying you're not a good DM. I'm saying when I first DM'd ever, I was definitely one of those people that was like, I got too immersed in what they were doing, and then I wouldn't ask them for rolls because I got too immersed in it, right? Versus when you get that balance, it's like Dylan will tell me to roll or write, you know, or whatever, or he'll say like, so what was that, like, what were you doing there, you know, like he'll ask me like, what was the goal of that, you know.
So let me ask real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt, you say you didn't ask for rolls. How does that work? So like you get so immersed you don't ask for rolls, you're just like,
so a big thing
improving the whole time, or
no. So a big
like,
thing,
how does that work mechanically?
So it's always like an out of combat thing. A big thing is like when Casimir lies, right? Casimir, this character, this player character in the game that we're DMing, he lies a lot. He likes to lie a lot. Okay? So every time he lies, he doesn't say, I'd like to roll deception, here's what I'm gonna say. Or he doesn't say, Dylan, can I roll deception? He says, here's the lie. Dylan's like, roll deception there. And he's like, what? And it's like, yes, you lied, go roll.
It's a lie.
When I first DM'd, the thing that I did was that Casimir would lie, and then I would just be like, wow, that was a good, like, in my brain, I'd feel like, wow, that's a good lie. And then I would just like, play off the lie,
convincing.
Right? Like improv style, instead of like the dice matter, you know. And so what that did is that rewarded players that were good real life at improvising, but it obviously wouldn't allow players who aren't as good. Because take the other player on our table, right? The player who plays Aloria. You've seen him have some issues in playing his last character, the charisma character, not utilizing being a charisma character very well because he didn't feel he knew what to say, right? Versus then Dylan's character constantly, and you know, Casimir's, you know, player's character, Calazar, both ending up putting their foot in their mouth constantly because as people they like to talk, right, and play characters. So it's like a whole thing there. Everybody's good.
Balance is a cheat. The gang's all here. That's good, PCM. Let's see where it goes from there.
That's interesting, charismatic.
I'm reading Hans here. Yeah, I feel like you're right with that, Hanfire. It's kind of like what Ori said, where it's like, if you're not good at speaking naturally, it's like, this gives you a bit of an advantage on that.
So I think the interesting
like
thing
now you have to balance.
And I think there's sort of two lines to go there, with Barca sort of giving like a good lie and a bad lie. And I think you do have the benefit of, yeah, you can incentivize people who are good at persuasion in general to like as a human play characters that maybe aren't because they can get away with it. But my concern would be that's unfair to the people who aren't naturally as humans good at it, right? I'm gonna compliment Dylan here. Dylan is very good at persuasion in real life. Dylan is Dylan is on track to be a lawyer, so he kind of has to be.
And there's a reason
but
for it.
He was also sort of born this way, right? So he's very convincing. He's very charismatic. He's very good at this. When this translates incredibly well to roleplay, because now all of his characters are also very compelling and very charismatic, unless they're a devil and you're just suspicious because Dylan's the DM, and that's a whole nother story. But as like characters, right, as player characters, he played a rogue, which did not have particularly good charisma. I think he had pretty bad charisma, but he did a lot of the talking. But I made sure that, I at least tried to make sure that he would constantly roll anyway, and the only reason I would give advantage or disadvantage would be if it was a good idea, right? Not necessarily that it was a good lie, but example, the heist on the Abishai, right? Like doing that. Like, that was a smart plan, right? I feel like anybody can come up with a plan that can work and be interesting. But I do feel that charisma is a very specifically learned skill that definitely less people just inherently necessarily have. And so you wouldn't want people like, you know, Nuriel's player, who isn't, you know, just ready to come out with lines constantly, be penalized because he's not talking. But if he wanted to ask, you know, to roll persuasion or something, that was sort of the thing that, you know, it does matter. So instead of penalizing, like, oh, you know, it's sort of one of those balances you have to strike. I think the better option, and this is just me personally, I think the better option is what I learned about, which is failing forward, right? And that's
what do you mean by that?
So the good example I was given is a rogue picking a lock, right?
Okay.
That rogue is supposed to be good at picking a lock. They have very, very good picking lock skills, right? So logically, they should be good at it. However, they roll a nat 1. Instead of, you didn't pick the lock broke, you open the lock, but in doing so, the door loudly creaks on its hinges as it swings open, making your whole presence known to all the enemies in the room. So now you've lost sneak.
So you give it a little bit of flavor as well.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, you always want to give it flavor, but it's the idea that you failed forward, right? Oh, the lock breaks? Kind of boring, right? And sad that the rogue that should have been good at picking locks, you know, is bad at it, right? And that sort of thing. But no, you just did it badly in a sort of, you know,
and now you kind of have this like penalty.
Yeah,
as
you
well.
have a penalty for failing, right? For critically failing, and that's something I think Pathfinder does well as well. Charismatic Canaan. Yeah, I do think D&D in particularly has a bit of a clunk issue in the sense of that it's like it's focused on rules until it's not, and then it's like, have fun with it, and you're like, wait, I was on the rules, and then they didn't tell me how the rules without the rules?
Everything.
It's very much like, you know, we're holding your hand, and then it's like, stop, we'll never hold your hand again, and it's like, I wasn't, like, give me a little time with training wheels, maybe, you know, I don't know.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense, the way you've explained it. That was a very clear description of how that works.
Yeah, I'm glad. Oh no, PCM, they don't take him seriously. Oh, goodness.
Oh no!
I'm thinking now, Boxic needs to find a mimic music box. That would be hilarious.
Oh my gosh. That is too sus, PCM. That is far too sus. I don't trust that. He's gonna get eaten by that freaking thing, or something.
Nothing happens yet, PCM.
Ooh, time delay is clever.
That's true, Charismatic. I can see that.
That's kind of also failing forward as well. Like, it's another form of penalty, just kind of different.
But yeah, I think those are interesting ways to keep it narratively, to not necessarily, you know, to keep it sort of logical, right? Like it's kind of sad when you're like a a class that is like, this is my thing, and then it's like, and you failed at that
But
thing.
IRL, you are not that thing.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like a lot of people are familiar with that tactic. That card was very lucky, holy crow.
So Nephi was right in the end, just not about that one. Oh no. We'll never forget healing potions again here.
Oh, those freaking healing potions.
And you can make them, Mars, you can make them.
I can! Yes! I think all I need now is some, what was it, leaf wall soup and alcohol.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, after we had the... Well, after we had the whole talk with the wall, I was thinking afterward, like, after our session, I was like, I wonder what would have happened if we, like, threw the alcohol at, like, the mouth of the wall.
Oh my god.
It's out of character for, Miss Molly, but, like, Mars can't help but wonder, if I were more of a gremlin, maybe I'd do that.
If I were Casimir, how would I act?
WWCD. What would Casimir do? If you tell me it's spelled with a K.
No, it's a C. It's a C. It's a C.
Good.
Ooh, interesting, charismatic.
Ooh. I haven't heard of City of Mist, but that one sounds very interesting. Is that also fantasy? Or is it something else?
Oh, that's funny, Han. That's funny. That's very funny. Let me fix this timer.
Oh, that's great, Han Fire. That's incredible.
Okay, I fixed the message.
I'm trying to think what else I can talk about in regards to Pathfinder.
So the interesting Pathfinder thing, and this has to do with the wall fight, because I know Mars talked about that. It's something called hardness, which is not in D&D, at least in 5e. It's not in 5e, and hardness is essentially a number that
we don't like AoE fights.
Yeah. At least I think AoE is better than everybody died, so you know, I can accept.
What would that be? We progress from ouchie to owie to...
No, I think owie ouchie. I think ouchie comes after owie.
Owie ouchie? Okay.
Yeah.
It's out. The official tier is owie ouchie.
Oh, so
damn, those are some good guards.
Is a number that some items or creatures have that is essentially subtracted from every hit that they take. So let's say something has hardness 5 and you attack with 10 damage. Technically, it only deals 5 damage. Because that hardness is taken away from that thing. So the wall that we managed to not fight had, as Dylan said, a very big hardness. So he would have had to hit with incredibly strong attacks in order to actually get past that hardness and actually deal damage to the thing in the first place.
I see. That's interesting. There's so many new mechanics in Pathfinder. It's like some of them are reminiscent of D&D and then others are completely new.
That's sort of the fault of...
keeps it feeling very fresh.
5e sort of being condensed down really hard. Because Pathfinder is originally based off of D&D 3.5.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. Originally.
I did not know that. Oh, it's just rare scarecrow? I see.
What, can you think of what has it? Because I couldn't think of anything that has it.
And if you have an example, please. Because we're still learning as well. We're still getting tutorial boxes.
That's fun, charismatic. Phoenix or pizza delivery man who's a Mercury. Oh, that's lovely.
Superhero noir game? Spider noir. Immediately.
Interesting.
Okay, that sounds amazing.
Heavy armor master feat.
Oh.
Heavy armor.
It is research time.
Oh yeah, it's just a reduction. I see. So it's kind of similar, but
That
it's not
sounds
as big of a thing. It looks like. Interesting. Very interesting. Thank you for that, Scarecrow. It's so rare that I never knew about it. I play Bard in 5e, so I'm gonna say armor was not my deal.
Yeah, is this your first time not playing a
Interesting,
bard?
Scarecrow. No, I played a cleric. I've played Tamarack was a ranger. Australia was a sorcerer.
Okay.
For major campaigns, yeah. Besides the cleric, I've always played a bard. I just like them, okay? I don't like them.
Hey, no judging.
However, summoner,
Yes.
way better. Mwah. Beauteous.
Oh my gosh, we finally dethroned the bard.
Yes. No, summoner's just all I ever wanted. I'm not useless in combat because I can actually hit things with, follow. But I'm also like support, and all this sort of stuff. And I have charisma. It's like everything I could have ever wanted.
And all in one nice convenient package.
I mean, I always was a summoner person, but there really wasn't, that option to be exactly the summoner that I wanted in 5e when we played. They kind of fixed Beastmaster.
He goes down?
What?
Sorry, I got distracted, but that's important.
It is important. Neffy can't die. I don't think Neffy dies. I feel like PCM would have alluded.
I don't think Neffy dies.
I feel like PCM would have alluded to pain more often than that.
Oh yeah.
I agree, Scarecrow. It'd be cooler if it was more common. That feels like one of those things that they like
starter
kept from
I'm sure you would
kept from the thing.
Ori's on to you.
Oh, that's fine, Bart Starter. Did you post it?
Sorry, PCM. Unfortunately?
Unfortunately? Excuse me.
Fortunately. No. Bad PCM.
Oh, that's fun, hon. In like a real world thing. That's neat.
Ooh. Okay.
That is fun, hon. That is interesting.
That's really unique.
Yeah, and themed exhibits. You put it in the right place. Ooh.
Okay,
wow.
this way, I gotta do this.
The improvement is amazing, Bart Starter. Wow, the last one? Oh my goodness.
Where are the themed exhibits?
It's Conservatory, themed exhibits, 2022 redraw challenge.
Aha!
That's awesome, Bart Starter. It looks fantastic. The improvement is insane.
Bart Starter, that is so good.
It's fantastic. Got it.
Oh my gosh!
How'd you learn to draw backgrounds like that? Tell me your secrets.
Give me
the number of your warlock, of your devil, so I can make a contract. Okay.
Bart Starter, I'm not kidding. I kind of want to use this as desktop wallpaper. Not gonna lie, this is gorgeous.
It falls asleep. Okay, we're not killing Cerberus. Poor doggo.
Amazing work,
Bart Starter. Charismatic. I don't think I could deal with that. I hate when my characters die. I don't want my players to die. It's sad. I can't do it.
Ori doesn't want anyone to die.
I can't do it. I get too attached. But she's alive, PCM. She's alive. I'm like eating
Oh.
popcorn and I'm trying not to make popcorn noises.
Oh, no worries. I was making pasta noises, so it's not like I did any better.
Perspective grid.
Ooh.
I do that sometimes, but maybe not enough.
I imagine it's one of those useful tools.
You don't need to fix anything, Scarecrow.
Very often.
You don't need to. Oh, I used it for the desk and everything. Like when it is like very like important, I do use it. Oh, what's Dylan gonna say about this fact? I'm so curious.
We'll have to see.
Oh, I see. Oh,
apologies, everyone. This depression just suddenly got to me. That's why I'm not talking.
Indeed. Do heed that advice. One of those is a felony, and the other one is not any illegal
Oh my gosh,
illegality
yeah, no.
at all.
Oh, this has turned to chaos so quickly.
I mean, always.
I mean, true. That's just the vibe.
I think I wrote as like the sting today on the stream is like roll the dice to see how on topic we can stay. Honestly, we've done pretty well.
Honestly, not too bad. I mean, I wasn't here for the first half, so you all be honest with me if Ori stayed on topic.
I talked about Rarity for like an hour. Okay.
Oh, damn, you got a good topic out of that one.
Oh yeah.
So was it Rarity in regards to like homebrew? Not to make you backtrack or anything, but like, can I get like a summary?
Yeah, it was in homebrew. Just how to decide what your rarity your item should be.
Gotcha. All about balancing. I see. Yeah, I definitely do not have experience in the homebrew department. I have only DM'd one thing, and it was for my family, who is also learning at the same time. So that's an experience. But we definitely do not have the what's the word? I'll say mental capability to figure out homebrew on top of figuring out regular rules.
It's just practice.
It's so different when you're DMing versus being a player.
Oh yeah.
I did not realize how much there was to keep track of, and even though I'm using like a starter book, it does allow you to have a lot of agency and like choose your own like flavor almost.
It was actually interesting.
So I wasn't expecting that.
I was speaking with a another D&D creator on Instagram. Something very interesting is that in Pathfinder 2e, there's something called the beginner box.
Oh, okay.
If you talk about My Little Pony, you should watch the most recent Ace Attorney video. Yeah, I won't explain any further. But yeah, so Pathfinder has 2e has something called the beginner box, and the whole point of the beginner box is to not only help the players begin, but help the DM begin DMing for Pathfinder, which is really super nice, because usually that's the biggest hurdle to overcome, is to DM for the first time, because like you said, Mars, it's a lot of work. It's a lot different than being a player. There's a lot more to keep track of. There's a lot more to do. So this is meant to help both
I give you guys a lot of credit for doing it.
And DM. And so, this creator that I was talking with, I think it's like Fairy Fire Studios or something like that on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
And they have been working on essentially a starter thing for like a beginner's box for 5e, which I think is a really cool idea, because I feel like that's a big, it would help with a lot more people wanting to be DMs, I feel.
Oh, yeah. And I feel like you don't get a lot of people who want to be DMs just because there is that learning curve. So
it's
yeah,
such
that
a
would
big
be
curve.
incredible.
It's a lot of work. You worry about, knowing the rules, because I gotta say, almost everybody I've heard about how you became a DM, the flounder at the beginning is hardcore. Cinder said it, Dylan said it, I've said it, like the knowing the rules
Mhm.
and just like missing rules and just completely, boofing it and everything. um is
Oh,
just
I can
like
imagine.
is just like hella, like it seems to be a universal sort of experience, is this
Uh-huh.
like incredibly difficult sort of first thing. But and because of that, you get, yeah, my first campaign was a mess, if I'm being honest. Scarecrow, my first campaign ever was I was a new DM, every single person was a new player. It was
Oh,
chaos.
geez.
It was chaos. um Mars had the very, very nice transition of being the only new player in a group of three relatively seasoned DMs and one, decently seasoned player. So it was like Mars
Yeah,
had
it honestly went really
a cushy
smoothly.
landing. Um, but I think that is sort of that trial by fire is sort of what scares a lot of people from trying it in the first place, because you do have to be a certain kind of person to be willing to sort of be so bad at something to get
Oh,
good at
yeah.
something.
And it's like, I think the pressure comes from wanting to make sure your players are having a good time. And you feel like they're not going to if you're like sitting there reading the rule book too
Yeah,
much, or like trying
exactly.
to
And
think,
they're not.
okay,
I
let
don't
me
want
think of
anybody.
the response for this or something along those lines.
No, that's exactly the same vibe, Scarecrow. Same as Cinder. Um, Dylan's, I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, it was. I had played. I had played more than 2 sessions, but I had essentially been a new player in a new DM's sort of corner, and honestly, that was insane. And then it was like, yeah, I could do it. And Dylan had been DMing for a bit after that, so he was helping me. So I did think it went a little smoother because of that, but it definitely, um, rules wise, was not particularly great. Great example, I forgot that attack of opportunity was a thing at all for a good 80% of the campaign. And then I had to introduce it to the players and myself essentially later on as a thing
And they're
now.
like, wait, we've never come across that before.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was a big one
And
I
it's like,
remember.
I know, it's because I forgot.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
See,
it was a
that's something I feel like I would do. Where it's like there's just so much to keep track of, I'm bound to forget this like little thing.
what's very funny is maybe you don't feel this way, Scarecrow, but I definitely feel this way. So I'll tell you a secret, Mars, is that
Okay.
at least in my experience of DMing, you do forget a lot, and you just have to roll with it.
You just
Right? The
roll.
amount of like stat blocks that I have homebrewed and made, um, and then played as a boss and just like as a DM like ran against you guys and just forgotten like a bunch
Mhm.
of the like abilities that they could do or something like that is plentiful, because the problem is, and this is a high tier sort of DM thing,
Uh-huh.
subject yourself to your own voice.
I think he has to watch the stream
Oh,
of him doing it.
I see. The only other thing I could think of was like text to speech, so you had to say it out loud. Um, but I see. You see him. Um, what was I saying though? Where was I?
About DMing, and
Oh,
you're always gonna forget one
the
little
biggest
thing.
thing is consistency. And what I mean
Mhm.
by that is that if you screw up the way a boss's move goes, that's just how it goes now. Right? Like that's the move is that way now. Because
You cannot
nothing
correct
hurts
that.
a player's like feelings more than thinking they understand how it works and then just completely like blowing it
Sight.
out the window because it was like, oh, I messed up. So it's like,
Mm.
oh goodness.
Yeah, I definitely agree
Damn,
that that
Scarecrow.
should not be on the player.
No, it's very nice. It's very nice,
It's like they
Parry.
did their best.
Using those in 5e. So at the very end of the campaign that I ran, which is the campaign right before the one we're playing in Pathfinder right now, we had already decided that we were moving to Pathfinder, and so I had like Dylan had gotten me like a Pathfinder book for, I think it was my birthday, and then I had gotten this Pathfinder supplement book that's called Botanical Bestiary, and they have a second one that is coming out soon, so I have that one
Ooh.
kickstarted. Uh, really fun. And that's where all the leshies come from, Mars, is my Botanical Bestiary Pathfinder book. And
Aha!
they uh so I started using creatures that were in the battle zoo bestiary from Pathfinder that Dylan had gotten me as D&D creatures, and I would actually
I
the first
remember
time
the rope coil
a lot of
guys
them
were
were at the end
that.
there, a lot of them were. And so after the first time of converting them, I kind of figured out how to convert them on the fly. And so that was really nice because then you could like relatively just shove one in there and tell great.
That is
I see
phenomenal.
Scarecrow.
Oh, okay.
Usually my mode is I never tell the players that I've messed up or if I've forgotten something, and I just let it go. And that's just how it's played now. I made the president
Never,
by screwing up.
never admit it.
No, you never admit it, but you've made it
Never
by screwing
confess
up.
to your
If it's
crimes.
in their favor, then they're lucky, and maybe I'll add like more health on the back end. If it's against them, I probably just won't use that ability very much, and be like, oh yeah, it's still recharging. Aha, woo, yeah. Mm-hmm. I see if you get called out on a mistake.
Duly noted. That might actually help me with the campaign I have going for my family.
Have you run it yet again, or?
I haven't done it since, so they've only had one session, and I definitely want to do it again because my brother really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought he would. So that was really cool to see. And my parents were getting into it too. They're not like, I can't say they're a meme group, but they're definitely a jokey group.
Mm-hmm.
Like my dad watches Critical Role. My mom's bouncing off of him, who's going like crazy, and my brother's just like kind of trying to figure out how to do his own cool things. So it's a ride. And then there's me just trying to pretend I know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I would definitely love to run the next session for them because they seem to really get into it.
Glad you can make it,
Oh,
Scarecrow. Always happy to have you.
yes, thank
Have
you
a good
so much
night.
for coming tonight. Have a good
Glad you could
one.
learn something. glad it helped.
Ori's a great teacher, isn't she?
I don't feel like a good teacher. Are you crying now because you heard yourself crying, PCM? I'm sorry.
Oh. Oh no.
It's so
There
funny
be
you
no
say that, Mars.
crying in D&D. What's so funny I say that?
That I'm a good teacher because I always feel like I always tell people I'm not a good teacher. Don't ask to learn things from me.
I'd say you're pretty concise in all your explanations, and really that's all you can ask for.
You
Like,
so
you try to
nasty
keep it
looks.
as simple as possible. You explain things another way if it didn't work the first time. That's
I'm
already
glad.
better than most.
Maybe I'm just not good at teaching people tree identification.
Well, that's a very specific genre of teaching.
That's part of the teaching
It's a
I
little
want, though.
different. You sound how Neffy looks, PCM. Well, now, I mean,
I don't know.
if you're voice acting, then yeah, you do sound how Neffy looks. I sound how Maya looks when I do Ace Attorney.
The only way to prove Parry whether or not it's me or you would be to me to try and teach somebody else who is just as willing to learn as you are, right? Because that's a big moniker.
Mm. Well, we'll see where that YouTube channel gets you.
It's a little different because I'm teaching people about trees, not how to identify trees. So it's a bit
Oh, I
different,
see.
where it's just like science and snark.
My two favorites.
This is okay. This will always be the thing, PCM. It's always a compliment. Yeah, teaching, Oscar. Welcome.
Yes. Hi, Oscar.
Yeah,
How
I
you
fixed
doing
the
tonight?
stream elements thing. It says out now.
Yes. Oh, and it's so beautiful. I know the launch party is in like 2 days, but guys, can I just say how excited and freaking happy I am that it is out and it's being read and it's
Insane.
getting pretty good feedback. Like, I am so, so happy that people are enjoying.
It's crazy.
That's all I want in life.
Honestly, it's more people than we had ever sort of hoped to read the comic.
Honestly.
So we're just floored. And we'll gush even more on Thursday.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying not to derail the conversation, but since, it popped up in the stream elements, how could I not mention it?
Well, Oscar, I'm glad that you're glad that we're glad, you know?
I'm glad that you're glad that I'm glad that you're glad.
Mashed potatoes? Yeah, I could go
I
for
wouldn't
potatoes.
say no to mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes are awesome. Potatoes are the superior food. I'm just going to put that out there now.
No,
Potatoes are
I'd have to agree.
Food.
I'd have to agree.
I thought you were about to say, no, I disagree.
No.
Because it really sounded you were going that route.
My carbs go potato, corn, then flour based.
I was about to say, no bread in there?
It's lowest on the tier.
Interesting.
See, Dylan did it for the noodles. Dylan's in it for the flour-based stuff.
Okay, I will say
rice. I'm sorry.
Noodles are good.
I forgot rice. It goes
Noodles
rice, potatoes, then corn, then flour.
I think for me, potatoes, rice, then corn. Flour is like the one you pick if none of the other options are available.
Yeah. I love rice.
I gotta be honest, I'm not too big of a bread person.
Yeah, I forgot the rice. I forgot about the rice. It's like... That's my favorite by far. I could eat rice with anything. There is a rice for anything. Right now we just briefly talked about our carbs of choice, Cool Cat. But thank you for reading the comic, Cool Cat. I saw your comment.
Yes,
it means so much.
So much.
Actually, two, both. Definitely one comment. Exactly, Oscar. I feel that. I feel that so much.
Rice is just so good. I mean, PCM, I will, in a couple years, I will be certified to tell you if you have a list.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Just one, right? Just
maybe?
One more.
I don't know. Is there any particular word you feel like you have a lisp on, or any particular sound?
Mars can identify it for you.
I can.
At this moment, in a non-medical certified way.
Not in a medical certified way, but in a, hey, I studied this is fun kind of way.
Yeah.
Not Cambridge. not
Paving
Cambridge.
stones with armor tech. It always looks like new.
No, I'll actually have a new certificate in my hand after this Thursday, so that's pretty nice.
Oh, very nice.
It was so funny the other day. If you guys are interested in my schooling experience, so I am in a major. My field is communication disorders, and not only am I going to be certified to do that profession, but I'm also will be certified to work in the schools as well. It's called a TSSLD. You don't need to know what that stands for. It just basically means teaching certificate. But to get it, I have to complete all these other workshops, and there's like 6 of them. My mom was so funny the other day. I was telling her, hey, I just signed up for this workshop. I'm going to have a certificate. And she's like, oh, I'm going to have to get you a picture frame. I'm like, a picture frame. It's just like a one course certificate. It's not even that special. It's probably going to go in a portfolio binder or something like that. And she's like, "Don't you want to frame your accomplishment?" I'm like, I mean, literally everyone in my class is going to get one of these. And if you follow this logic, I'm going to have like 20 frames on my wall. I'm going to have no wall.
Oh, good PCM. Mars, I'm sorry.
I had to set her expectations a little.
Dylan just wrote, if I try to give the legal version of what Mars just described, they'd shoot me, with you giving non-certified, identification of what it is. And I find that so hilarious because it's very true, right? I find that so funny.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to say that, like, I can't give certified...
not allowed to diagnose. I cannot diagnose. That is not within my scope of practice. Nor really is anything within my scope of practice. It's literally just, hey, I have this knowledge, so, like, I can speculate. You know, I can speculate and say, like, hey, this sounds like this, or this connects to that. But I cannot diagnose anything. I am not a doctor. This is not medical advice. Please do not take it as such.
It's hard because I really want to be like, I can't give unlicensed tree advice, but I'm licensed in like 4 ways, so it's like, no, I really can't because I have the license.
You could.
It's like I'm trying to fit in with the crew here, and it's like, no, you have licenses for that. All right, great.
Ori, you are flexing with your art all the time. I don't think you need to prove anything.
It literally was just like, I was like, yes, it's like I couldn't give unlicensed tree advice, and then it's like, wait, because I can't.
Morton, if you told me, I would have said hi tonight. Why didn't you say something sooner?
I won't be licensed for very long, though. They wear out, unfortunately.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's very sad. They wear out unless you do like all these credit things, and when you have a job in the field, it's like relatively easy to get the credits. You just sort of exist and get the credits. But if you don't have a job in the field, you like have to do like really annoying shit, and I just haven't, and I'm lazy, and it wasn't that big of a deal to me because it's a lot of shit.
It's kind of sort of the same for us as well. Like we basically have a continued education, which means we have to stay on top of like the new studies, the new information coming out.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, exactly. What ends up happening there is we end up paying to take more courses, even when we're out of school, and it's just like, oh my god, it never ends. It never ends.
That's hardcore. Yeah, it's like I could have put in a lot of effort to like try and keep it, but I don't know. It's kind of like, it's one of those like, will I regret it? Who knows, sort of thing.
It's kind of one of those, fuck around and find out.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh my goodness. Mushu's pushing it.
Mushu really is. The audacity of this guy, I swear.
Mushu's pushing it. I like how I didn't draw any D&D art tonight.
He is PCM's character in one of his campaigns. It's a very fun character, but sadly, she gets emotionally tortured quite a bit, which is very sad.
All the time.
And we are always on the edge of our seat, wondering what terrible fate has befallen her.
Yeah. Usually via audio, but
Usually via audio. Very often.
Yes, that is you, Oscar. Yes.
I mean, pretty close.
Yeah, it's only one letter off.
Not bad, not bad.
Translator mod?
Oh?
There's a translator mod?
Hmm.
For what?
I
I have to
am not
hire one?
aware. Oh, well then.
What,
We
now I
can't
have to
afford
remember
that,
what
Oscar.
nephew is in Spanish. The word I want to say is not the word. And so I'm like, what is it? What is nephew and
Such is life sometimes, you know?
taco? Yeah, uh-huh. I'm trying to remember. What is do you remember, Mars? Thank you for the follow, charismatic painter.
Off the top of my head, oh geez, I'm gonna sound so dumb. I really am.
Okay, I'm gonna get it.
I remember.
We definitely learned it. I'm gonna get it.
I know we
Thank you,
definitely did.
Oscar. We can do it.
Thanks for the vote of confidence. Not Prima. That's something
No,
else.
it is primo, right? I think it is.
Oh,
I think
really?
you're right. I think
it?
you're right.
Was I right?
Or is that cousin?
I don't.
Ooh, that one might be
That might
cousin.
be cousin.
I think
I think that's
Prima's
cousin, actually.
No, Oscar, no. Down, boy.
Oscar! What is happening here? Oh, crap. What is the word? I'm gonna have to cheat. I don't want to, but I might have to.
S. It's one of the S ones, right?
Are you sure? I feel like
Oh,
Nino?
yeah, yes.
No.
Sobrino, right? Sobrino and Sobrina.
Oh, Sabrina.
Sobrino, yeah. Sobrino. There we go. Yeah, Primo's cousin. That's what it is.
That's
Sobrino
right.
is nephew.
Okay. Because I remembered, okay, this was how I remembered it in when I first learned it. I had a friend, Sabrina, in elementary school. And I remember learning Sabrina. And it meant what was it, niece, you said?
Yeah, Sobrina is niece.
Okay, and at the time, that was how I remembered it, because it was like, oh wow, my friend's name was cousin, because you know that's how a dumb kid learning another language
grader, yeah.
first time thinks.
Yes, Mushu is trying to be nice.
Is he succeeding?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a tad bit. A tiny baby bit.
Sorta, maybe.
A teeny weeny bit.
Teeny weeny bit.
A fruity
Teeny
tooty
tiny.
bit.
No fruity tooty.
What? No tutti fruity? I like tutti fruity.
I mean, it's not as bad as hoochie hanging. Nothing will ever be that. But
oh, you don't like it because of that? It's a flavor. Tutti Fruity's a flavor, and you're gonna compare it to hoochie hanging? Jesus, oh my goodness.
You've come up with some odd ones.
You surprised public schools don't use uniforms? Not everywhere.
That's more of a private school thing.
Some places in America they do, though. It depends on where you live. Depends on where you live.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm kind of like back and forth on the practice, because it's like, okay, on one hand, like, yay, you don't have to think about your clothing when you get up, but it's like, I don't know. Even though I didn't partake in that,
good night, Bart Starter.
Being able to express yourself through clothing.
Good night,
Bart Starter.
Thank you for participating in the redraw contest, is what I would like the words to be.
Oh, it's the old midnight brain, guys.
Always happy to see you.
That's a hint to mark your bingo cards.
Mark your bingo cards. Mars, do exclamation point bingo in the chat.
Oh, yes, I should. I have not done that in a while. Haha! There you go, guys.
Yeah, I'm against uniforms if you're forced to purchase them.
Yeah, then it's just an unnecessary expense that's more of a
Yeah,
burden than anything
exactly.
else.
Then it's just like, now I'm already going to school. Like,
Just
now I
like
have to
use
buy a
books,
uniform?
binders, books, backpacks.
Like, it's not a
Although,
privilege, you know?
well, I mean, technically speaking, it's not too different from like when you go back to school shopping.
But uniforms are so
I
expensive, and at least back to school shopping
I
clothes
just
you can
don't think
wear
I'm big
outside
on
of
the
school,
conformity.
you know? In general, yeah, I'm definitely anti-uniform overall.
Mm.
Wear
I'm
what
pretty
you
sure
want.
we had a persuasive essay all about this back in the day.
Oh, I don't even know. The only persuasive essay stuff I can remember was like learning about the kid that made his like speech incredibly lewd and it like got by for a while. It was like interesting.
Oh, yeah. There was that, wasn't it?
Yeah. Interesting, Oscar. I know like selling it is one thing, but I think they should actually like supply it. You know, like I don't think that you should have to pay for it.
Mm.
If they are forcing you to wear clothing, you know, they should purchase, you know, however many you need.
Yeah, agreed.
Like at least, and then you could argue like, oh, but like band uniforms, they make you buy like the shoes and stuff, and it's like, yes, but band is like a privilege. Like you have to go to school, right? And if the free school, public school, makes you wear uniforms, like you shouldn't have to buy it yourself.
Yeah. My gosh,
Aww.
PCM! That's
Oh.
heartbreaking.
PCM, it's not all Audio's fault because you play Neffy like this.
Yeah, this is you giving her a voice.
This is you making her depressed.
My gosh.
Don't wink at me.
Our poor girl.
Don't wink at me like that.
How dare.
Yeah. And who made her that way? Sus. Sussy wussy.
She was born this way.
No, she wasn't. She was traumatized this way.
Upon creation,
Oh,
she was born this
I have
way.
an interesting question, PCM. ASMRs age at the same rate as like humans, right? Do ASMRs that's not what I was gonna ask. How old was Neffy when she had her incident? This is very important for science. That's what I'm saying, Charismatic Kaline. It's expensive, right? And it's just like, oof. Oh, gross.
Oh, yeah.
Their socks? Oof.
Ooh.
I hate that. Yeah, that's horrible. 14? Ah, darn. Not 9. How old were the twins?
Holy crow.
Okay, that's almost human. Dylan. Yeah, Dylan, the reason we asked this is because if you remember, Edgeworth had his traumatic childhood incident at older.
9.
Interesting. At 9.
Oh, no, wait.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, he did.
At 9. Good night, cool cat.
Good
So,
night,
Dylan,
cool cat.
Edgeworth
Thanks
had
for hanging.
his traumatic incident at age 9. Mars and I were just watching an anime, and we saw that this character also had a parent get murdered at also age 9. And so we're concluding that all of the
9 is the trauma
9
age.
is the trauma age. If you have trauma at age 9, you know, you're anime protagonist material.
It's like, if you have trauma by age 9, you've done it right.
No. Specifically at age 9.
Yes. It has to be at, no sooner, no later. Preferably on a birthday if you're going for ultimate drama.
Yeah, that really sucks, Charismatic. It's really like they just want to make money at that point, it feels like, you know? And that's why it's like you should supply it, you know?
So ridiculous.
So ridiculous indeed. Incredibly ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculosity.
Oh, well, I'm glad he really doesn't want her to die down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, more Mushu character growth. We're good.
Oh, geez.
All eyes.
PCM.
Ridiculous.
I mean,
there we go. All eyes.
Besties? Maybe?
Hashtag besties question mark?
Yeah, that really is. Yeah, see, charismatic canine, it's like I could make a joke out of that, but I really do believe it's like clothing allows you to kind of establish who you are. Like you can convey personality through that. You can convey likes, interests, a whole bunch of things. Like, I mean, okay, so you're talking to someone who did take a fashion class in high school. So this might be a little bit of that coming through. But no, it's something I've always wondered where it's like if you've worn a school uniform your whole life and I'm sure you could put together like an outfit when you get out. I mean, you gotta get dressed on the weekends and everything, but it's like, how do you dress? Like, how do you know stuff that goes together? How do you know like what materials complement each other or stuff like that? Which is probably already deeper than most people think, but you gotta understand. I have a friend who considers all this stuff and has been coaching me, so
Oh.
now that's how I look at fashion. 2 classes actually, Perry. I took one in fashion design and then the other one I took in marketing back when I thought I wanted to work in the fashion industry. I didn't, because my ideas are basically, ooh, let's take this thing that already exists and pair it with this thing that already exists. It's no Gucci. Depends on the type of octopus suit, Oscar. Like, are we talking multiple pieces? Is it a one piece?
Oh, I'm thinking, is it like a regular suit,
like
but it's patterned with octopus?
Jacket? Like what are we talking about here?
Did Mushu ever help Nessie from not doing anything stupid? Neffy from not doing anything stupid? I feel like the answer is no, PCM. That's all,
See, sometimes that's a trick, charismatic canine. Like, I can't tell you how many people I met in undergrad that I started talking to just because they were wearing anime pins on their backpack. And I had to compliment them.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. I would, in school, like, during my entire school career, specifically have, like, graphic tees that are like, I like this thing. And then so when people are like, oh, it's that thing, it's like, yes, you like thing? Nice. Let's discuss.
It's just like, bet! Let's go!
Automatic conversation starter, built in.
Instant friendship. Although, I remember in middle school, you had a whole dress paired with, like, sun hat thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
That was really good style.
Well, that was the whole thing. I like dresses, right?
That was
so
that was
summer
tea time.
I
it's always time somewhere. That was your style.
Of dresses, and everyone would always be like, "Why are you all dressed up?" And it's just like, because dresses are nice, Can I not wear a dress or something? Thank you.
It's like,
hello.
What's wrong with them?
I see. Formal attire, but for an octopus scaly. All right, there you go, Mars. Help
okay.
Oscar with that.
I got my work cut out for me then. I most definitely got my work cut out for me. Let's see. Ah, what happened to my screen? Okay, there we go.
Don't die.
People wear cowboy hats where you are, Oscar? Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Well, I don't know if you've watched that Ace Attorney stream, but that guy might be copping the fashion there.
I'm thinking so. You know, I like the idea of living on like a ranch or a farm. It sounds very nice. And then I think about how early I have to get up and all the shit I gotta do. And then I remember why I don't live there.
That's my whole thing with like I love animals, right? And it's like
Oh,
I would love to have all these really cool pets and stuff, but then it's like yeah, but like none of them go outside like dogs, so it's like
it's like feeding, walking,
yeah, it's like even like
all of it.
cats, like I like cats, but just the idea of that like litter box, I don't want to deal with this.
Litter box isn't too bad, speaking from experience. You just gotta stay on top of it. It's one of those things where if you let it go, you will hate yourself afterward.
Yeah, it's more just like dog poops outside. You pick that up. You don't even have to bend over. If you get the pooper scooper thing. Very very simple, easy. And then once you get past dogs and cats, most animals are like they're in some sort of enclosure, and it's not as great,
True.
right? So you have to like clean that enclosure or something, and so it's just like, and so it's just like,
Very.
and then same like I'd love to have a ferret. I would love to have a ferret. I don't want to deal with ferret smell, and I don't want to deal with cages. Like I don't want
Oh
to.
my God. Ferrets are literally so cute.
They're so adorable, but I just have
Like,
to
I
live
honestly
vicariously.
love them. Guinea pigs as
It
well.
was PCM.
So
I had a
freaking
guinea pig.
adorable.
So fun, so cute, but I was young enough where it's like I didn't care for it,
Mhm.
So it was like,
Like, hi, mom, can you do this for me?
yeah, literally though. So it was very much
That,
like,
that's secret. Get the pet while you're young.
oh yeah. But so it was definitely like, yeah, I don't wanna have to clean like a cage. And so
Mm.
anything that's like in a cage is now at the window, and then it's like, then you get like anything that goes in like a stall, and it's like, now this is a lot of work too in
Oh
like
boy.
different ways. And then vet bills are like, so then it's just like, yeah,
The
guess
pet
dogs
bills
only.
are rough.
Well, imagine a vet bill, but now for like a horse or like a cow or like a
Yeah,
pig. Like no,
it's a
big big
lot.
delicious. Mmm, any animal.
Too much.
So charismatic canine says hypothetical: if you could have any animal as a pet, they would be domesticated, and we would have the resources to look after it. What animal would we want?
Ooh.
What
Okay.
animal would I want?
Can I choose multiple animals?
It looks like just one.
Ah,
Any animal as a
no.
pet. What one would you want? I think it's just a one. This is very hard because I love dogs so much. I'm pretty content with dogs.
Yeah, this one's really hard for me too, cuz I adore cats. And I can't see myself without a cat, in all honesty. Like that would just hurt me. I gotta have my kitty.
Okay, Dylan wants a bear.
A bear?
Why not just get the gray wolf then, Dylan? It's just literally a big puppy. You know?
That is true.
Dylan, or a cow though. You sure you don't want a cow?
Oh, cows are nice.
I guess they're already domesticated. That's not what you're doing for. It's more the money to take care of it, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah, just because you've cuddled with a
It
cow
always comes
already.
down.
Okay, I see.
Cows are actually pretty lovable.
Oh no, they're adorable.
I could see teacup piglet also an option.
Ooh, very fun
Because,
PCM.
like, it's tiny, it's cute, I could take care of it.
Lambs are cute too.
Oh, lambs are adorable.
I
Or
do like
you've
goats,
you've
pygmy
been to the
goats.
petting zoo where you can feed the lambs and the
Oh
baby
yeah,
goats. right?
I love the pygmy goats, the little goats. Those are
Oh,
great
they're
as well.
so cute.
It's too hard.
It really is.
This is
It's
so
like, how
difficult.
can we
It's
choose?
because I'm also here in like a like I still have that sort of mentality of that, like, these aren't domesticated, so I don't know how they would act, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
So
it's
it's
very much
like,
like
how do you judge that?
when we think about domestication, it's literally just like, like usually dog is usually like the moniker. Like when you talk about like domesticating foxes, everybody wants it to be like a dog. Not everybody
Mm,
necessarily, but like a lot of people want it to be like a dog. So it's very
the
much just like when
majority.
you think like so many things compared to dogs. Like think, when we have like big funny animals as they're supposed to be lovable, like the big Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton from the museum, like they're all akin to dogs, right? And
Yeah,
so it's very much just like this is the ideal. It's trainable. It loves you. It cuddles you. It looks happy all the time. Like this is like ideal domestication. But when you domesticate things, they don't always end up like that. Cats are domesticated. They're not usually like dogs. Having a cat like a dog is a different thing. You know?
exactly.
Yeah. It's like
Because
having
like
a.
sometimes they're
I don't want a
aloof, other
hippo.
times,
I would need something fuzzy.
oh, no hippo,
I'd
no
love
hippo.
capybaras would be cute. Patty melons would be cute. Wallabies would be cute.
Oh, koala?
I'm not actually sure about that PC. No, koalas are terrifying. I can't get past those.
Really? What makes you say that?
Drop bears, and they're. I know too much about koalas and how disgusting they are, so I'm just like, no thanks. Ooh, pangolins are great.
Oh,
Pangolins are
England,
good.
good
Pangolins a
choice.
good choice. I know the answer. Aardvark.
Aardvark?
Aardvark's the
Really?
answer. Aardvark's the answer. The nose is too good. It.
Okay,
I've shown you
the
the
nose is
videos of
pretty
that.
good.
Yeah, chlamydia. They do other disgusting things. They pee on themselves a lot because they're just lazy. It's fuck, and I can't. I can't think about. Are they super stinky? I don't know. I don't. I'm not sure about that one. I don't know.
Charismatic canine, I feel like all animals, when you get down to it, are pretty
That's
stinky
also
in the
true.
long run.
That's also true.
It's
When
like
you talk about
it's very
dogs, there's
uneventful.
definitely a dog smell that you like get used to and don't realize.
No, it's like okay, Ori, I don't know if you've ever had this, but I had a friend when I was really young, and she had a dog, and her house just always smelled like that dog. Like it was a very distinct smell where it was like I would walk in and I'd be like, okay, this is the smell of this friend's house.
I definitely
I don't
know
know if you've ever noticed that being a dog owner
villain.
yourself. I'm sure my house has it with my cat as well,
Very
but I
cute
like
PCM.
it's just normalized to me, so I probably don't even notice it.
It's one of those things where it's like I have cousins and they have essentially like a small farm setup,
She is a very
like
cute American.
animals wise, right? And their house definitely smells like dog and animal and this sort of
Mhm.
thing. But I wouldn't say that like every house smells like dog, but I would also say that like every house has its own smell, pets or not. Like when we would give my pets to like my aunt and uncle who lived down like the block from us to like babysit while we like go on vacation or something, when they came back, my mom would always like immediately we have to wash the dogs because they smell like that house. Like it's not necessarily like a bad smell. It's just like
Mhm.
a distinct smell that is not
Yeah.
your house's smell, right? So it's very much like, this sort of thing.
Hmm.
So it's very like I don't really know. You get nose blind so quick to things. Riley, like definitely sometimes she smells like dog. I never find her smell the like wet dog though, like hardcore, but maybe we're just on top of it. We find that she changes color more like sooner than she smells, besides her breath. Her breath will stink real bad sometimes. But like coat wise, it's like her coat will change color long before she's like dog smell, at least in my opinion. But, I
Hmm.
don't know. Again, maybe I'm just used to it. Who really knows? Who's to say?
Maybe it is Oscar. It could very well be. It
Oh,
could
a
very
hundred
well.
percent. There's definitely Like, my blankets will smell like my dog because she sleeps with me, and then they have to be washed, you know?
Hmm.
I find bedding holds the most sense, if I'm being honest.
Any kind of fabric,
Not even that.
because
I find your bed
it just
specifically.
cleans everything.
It's your bed specifically for me. I definitely find it's like sometimes I'll walk into my room and it's like, this is kind of weird, and then it's like, yeah, it's just the bed, like the bedding. It's just the time to change. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like very interesting. But who knows? Oh, I might actually finish this during stream.
Oh, it looks so good.
Thank
The poses are so cute.
I'm glad. This
Love
is like our
them.
new thing, so.
So is this No, never tried to feed dogs. Feed them with shrimp? Like the shrimp is the utensil, or are they eating shrimp?
I think they're eating the shrimp.
I'm pretty sure, but you still phrased it that way, so I need to ask. Wow, your dog must really like shrimp.
It's snuggled with the shrimp. Oh my god. That's the best. My dog is too
Was
much.
it a jumbo shrimp?
My dog is too much. She constantly, anything in the kitchen, she needs it, and then you like give her a piece of it and she's like, oh no, that wasn't what I wanted.
Oh man. I wish it were that way with Misty. That's my cat's name for those of you who don't know. Anytime you go to the kitchen, and I mean anytime, the bathroom is along that path as well. So if you get up to go to the bathroom, she is trotting at your heels. Anytime you go to the kitchen, she thinks you're going to feed her. So she'll just follow after you. Like my dad will get up and like go to get some water or something. She hears the fridge open and it's immediately ears up, jumps off the couch or like appears from whatever place she came from, and she just like dashes after him or anyone who's going to the kitchen. What's even funnier is she is the only cat I have had that gets a lunchtime. Every cat I have had before her only ate 2 times a day, you know, breakfast and dinner, the typical feeding times. This cat gets a little bit of something for lunch consistently as well. And that's usually around like 11:30 in the morning. She will stalk her food dish between the hours of 10 and 11:30. And I'm like, it's too early. It's still morning. I'm getting cereal. So you're not getting lunch. You gotta wait. She's just sitting there like bookend perfect. Like you know, like those lion bookends you may see on a shelf. She looks like one of those. She's singing all prim and proper. She's got the pear shape, and she's just waiting. Oh my gosh! If she does it tomorrow, I will take a picture of it and post it in the pet section for you guys, because it's just so funny. Hi, Grenade.
Hello, Grenade.
Oh, thank you. We'll actually be talking about more on Thursday. If you're free to join us then. But thank you.
Thank you
so much. Oh, so happy.
So excited. Hand grenade. Yeah, exactly. No, it is a hand grenade. That is what he is after.
Good luck at work, Grenade.
Get that dough.
Luck.
Get that dough. Make that bread.
Get that dough to get that dough.
Have fun. All right. There it is. All done. Oops.
Who are you trying to keep, Oscar? Are you trying to adopt Neffy?
Yeah, Neffy.
Well,
it does have a lot of trauma, but be careful. There's a lot of... You're gonna have to put a lot of effort in that one.
You will have to put in the request through PCM. That is his child.
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna, with the face that PCM is making, I'm gonna say probably not. Alrighty. Yeah, because this is now what I'm gonna use on our schedules.
Oh, that's
That's what I really wanted to
awesome!
do.
Woo!
So that's for that.
That was so cool.
Mm-hmm. WH is like
Yeah.
the start of PCM saying what, so it's like what, and then
It's like what?
like what,
Like that.
and then SMH is shaking my head.
Shake my head.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So everybody,
We're
if you
not too behind the
no,
curve.
every once in a while, Dylan uses like a shorthand that I don't know, and I just kind of roll with it and be like, I can context clues. I think I accept it. But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up here.
Yes.
No, you said something, Dylan, earlier.
I can't even claim to know what that means. What the heck?
OITS? Yeah, I don't know what oits is. You said
Oits.
JFC? I don't know what JFC is.
Oh, it's too stupid?
Oh, is that
that
so?
it?
Oh, is that so?
Oh, okay. I guess that makes more sense.
PCM, every time you point to the Neffy emoji and say full of soup, I don't immediately think, I see. I don't immediately think that
Well, that
you're
one
saying.
I knew.
I didn't know that one. But yeah, PCM, when you point to Neffy saying full of soup, I don't think that the bowl or the cup is full of soup. I think you're saying Neffy's full of soup, which is also true because she is drinking soup.
That would be my translation as well.
George Fernando and Carlos. Yes, exactly. Jorge Fernando and Carlos. Yeah, so every time you do that, it's just you point to Neffy. Neffy is full of soup. All right, yeah. So guys, so Thursday is the next time we're going to stream.
Yes.
We are.
Oh my gosh, we have so many activities that night.
So it is our comic launch party. If you haven't read it, you really, really should. It's really good. We're going to play.
We promise we're not biased in any way whatsoever.
No, everybody's in the comments saying how good it is, so it's not just us. But yeah, it's great to meet you too, Charismatic Tana, and happy to have you.
And thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Definitely.
Loved having you.
There will be trivia on Thursday, so Outcast Trivia. It'll be a lot of things from those first 3 entries and a couple of other things that we think everybody should know.
I want to check the wikis.
We're going to be talking about...
Great. You gotta let people know what they need to study before a test, right?
Check the wikis, read the thing, read the comic. Those are the 2 big study points. And then there's some other stuff that was like if you hung around stream. But there's that. There will be us discussing our original first entry, which is something nobody read. But so you'll all get to see it. There will be prizes for the trivia, so you definitely want to be ready for the trivia. And
absolutely.
Me drawing hopefully a lot of emotes for the community, because that is the goal. I'm gonna try and work on chibis and this hopefully like emotes and stuff, because we need more emotes. I only have the like 3, and I want to have more. I've been inspired by an artist I just recently started following. So all right,
that's
guys,
awesome.
We will see you all hopefully Thursday. Have a great evening and see you then.
Bye bye everyone.